Hello everyone. If you like this audiobook and want to listen to more, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, like it as well, that it enjoy.
All in on a bullet. Look, I'm not gonna pretend I had some tragic backstory that justified what I became. Born into money so old it had its own marble wing of the mansion, John was the family embarrassment, and honestly, I earned that title. My siblings were out there launching fashion brands and crypto wallets, doing all that shit our parents wanted, while I was buried in manga and web novels, anything that wasn't another goddamn lecture about quarterly projections and maintaining the family image. The pressure to succeed crushed my soul slowly, like drowning in expensive cologne, and I fucking hated every second of it. Though comics and all those anime did help, but it was the gambling that finally gave me air. I can still remember my first basement poker game in Chinatown, clear as day. I watched these grown-ass men's faces twist when I swept 3 months' allowance on a pair of sevens, and something in my brain just clicked and rewired itself. For the first time in my entire suffocating life, I was good at something without trying, without grinding, and without my father's voice in my head going on about standards and expectations and not embarrassing the family name. The high hit different than any power fantasy I'd read about in those manga. This was real and mine. So yeah, the rich kid with the trust fund chased that feeling until the fund ran dry, then just kept chasing it anyway because stopping wasn't really an option anymore, was it? By 17, I'd burned through nearly $1 million, liquidated it, fed it to the tables like kindling, and I didn't even feel bad about it. Ming vases my great-grandfather smuggled out of China during some war one never bothered learning about. Pawned grandfather clocks that had ticked through generations of family dinners I'd been forced to sit through. Sold to collectors who probably appreciated them more than I ever did. Oil paintings of stern ancestors who'd built the fortune I was pissing away. Funded poker games, and really, who was gonna miss them anyway? But here's the thing about gambling addiction that nobody really tells you until you're neck deep: it stops being about money fast. Like, really fast. Money's just fuel at that point, just a means to keep playing. The real drug is that moment between bet and result, when your entire existence narrows to the turn of a card, when your whole life is just suspended on chance, where nothing else matters, not your family, your future, or even the fact that you're destroying everything. Just that moment, that perfect, crystalline moment where you go all in, and anything's possible. I knew this, yet I kept going anyway because what else was I supposed to do? Stop, face reality, fuck that. My family caught me 3 weeks before my 18th birthday. They found the pawn receipts, the transaction history, the whole paper trail of our bloodline being liquidated piece by piece. Weirdly, they didn't rage, which honestly would have been better. No, they just waited, timed it perfectly like the calculated bastards they were. Happy birthday, John. You're disowned from the fake family. Now I had no mansion, no trust fund, not that lame last name even. Just a gambling addict with 6-figure debts to loan sharks and a family that erased him from the Christmas card like he'd never existed. Which is how I ended up in Victor's warehouse at 2 a.m. on my 18th birthday, watching a loan shark spin a revolver cylinder and wondering if this was rock bottom all those self-help books talked about. The warehouse smelled like desperation and bad life choices, which, to be fair, was just rust and old concrete. Victor sat behind a card table missing most of its felt, the revolver spinning between his fingers like this was just another Tuesday for him. And maybe it was, who am I to judge a guy's hobby? The loan shark had fronted me hundreds of thousands over 6 months, just watching me spiral with that same clinical detachment you'd use watching a bug caught in a spider's web. You know why you're here. Just a statement of fact. Yeah, I knew. Had known since my family's lawyer read the disownment papers with that professionally sympathetic voice. The debts weren't the kind that disappeared just because daddy cut you off. Victor set the gun on the table. The tool was pure black metal, with its cylinder cracked open enough to see one brass cartridge nested among 5 empty chambers. Russian roulette, you must be familiar. We play until one of us wins. Or, gold tooth catching the dim warehouse lighting. You call your family, beg real nice, and maybe daddy feels generous enough to write a check to make his embarrassing son's problems go away. No parent could deny their child, especially on their birthday. I stared at the gun. Oddly, my hands weren't shaking, which was wrong, right? They should have been. I should have felt something beyond that familiar itch toward the bet, that pull that had destroyed everything I'd ever had. Kid. Victor's voice almost sounded kind, which was somehow worse than if he'd been threatening. I've done this plenty. Rich boys like you thinking they're tougher than they are. Make the call. I'll sweeten the pot and even spot you the first month's interest. I reached for the gun instead. Heavier than I expected. The grip had texture, little diamonds carved into metal pressing against my palm, and I checked the cylinder myself because I needed to see it with my own eyes. Trust nothing, verify everything, only lesson from dear old dad that actually stuck. 1 bullet, 6 total with 5 empty chambers. The cartridge sat in the third position. 1 in 6 odds on the first spin. 16.67% chance of death. Nice. Better odds than yesterday's poker game, where I'd lost 3 grand on an inside straight draw like a complete fucking idiot. One last gamble. The words felt natural, like my whole life had built toward this warehouse without me realizing. I pressed the barrel against my temple, metal cold against my skin, and I could feel each heartbeat pulsing against it like my body was trying to remind me I was still alive, for now. My finger found the trigger. Victor shifted in his chair. Wait, you're actually... I squeezed. The trigger had resistance, it required real pressure, and for half a second, I wondered if I'd actually go through with it or if this was just another bluff. The mechanism clicked inside the cylinder. Click. Empty. My heart hammered, and adrenaline flooded through my system, sharp and electric like lightning in my veins. My hands were shaking now, trembling as I set the gun back on that shitty card table. That rush. That fucking rush. Better than any poker pot I'd ever won, better than any winning damn streak. For 10 seconds, I'd existed in pure luck. Schrodinger's rich kid, huh? The ultimate bet, and I wanted more. Victor took the gun, his face now unreadable, spun the cylinder with that ratchet sound echoing through the empty warehouse, then pressed it against his own temple. His hand was steady, like he'd done this 100 times before and would do it 100 times more. Click. Empty. Back to me. I grabbed the gun, lined it up. My hands had stopped shaking. The first pull was terror mixed with thrill and ran on pure emotion. This second pull was like muscle memory for suicide, and wasn't that a fucked up thought? The cylinder hadn't been spun with 2 chambers cleared now. 0.94 odds, 25% chance. Click. Empty. 3 chambers down, 3 more to go. 33% now. This is getting spicier. Victor took the gun, didn't even spin, just raised it and squeezed, and I realized he was playing the same game I was. Neither of us spinning, both of us riding the sequence. Click. Empty. 2 chambers left with 1 bullet between them. 50-50 now. Pure coin flip. No skill, no tells, no edge to exploit. Just a threesome between me, Lady Luck, and a bullet that had my name on it or didn't. I took the gun, didn't spin the cylinder because that would ruin the rhythm we had going. I thought about my father's face during the disownment, all cold and disappointed like I'd confirmed everything he'd ever suspected about me. Thought about my siblings at their next family dinner with that empty chair no one would mention, as if I'd never existed in the first place. Thought about how gambling had never really been about winning for me, had it? It was just about that moment between bet and result where anything was possible, where I felt alive instead of suffocating. Victor's voice cut through. Kid, wait, maybe we should. John pulled the trigger. The sound was different this time. Not a click but a bang that swallowed the whole world. I felt the impact before I heard it, felt my head snap with a whiplash, my body losing connection to itself like someone cut the power cord. It wasn't an instant shutdown as I thought it would be. It was like signals cutting out floor by floor, room by room, systems shutting down in sequence. My vision already gone, but I could still sense Victor's face frozen in shock or disgust or just that worry over how to recover his money. The warehouse floor came up, and I didn't feel it, just felt the strange floating sensation of consciousness untethering from me, from the body that had carried me to this stupid, inevitable end. My last thought, 50-50 odds, huh, could have been worse. 40 comments 0 vote, RNGesus. The white void came gradually, like surfacing from deep water, and I wasn't sure if I was relieved or disappointed. My consciousness flickered back in pieces, assembling itself from whatever the fuck comes after death. I wasn't sure I had a body anymore, but the memory of having one lingered, phantom sensations of flesh and bone. Well hell, a voice echoed through infinity, sounding almost impressed. Didn't actually expect you to pull that trigger. The void assembled itself into a fucking pachinko parlor of all places, and this, being manifested slowly. He looked like a high roller who'd spent too many decades at the tables and had seen everything one possibly could and beyond. Flowing robes covered in dice patterns, yeah, but worn like a gambler's lucky jacket, the kind you never wash because it's on a winning streak. His face was just a screen that shifted between states, sometimes a roulette spin, sometimes just cascading numbers in a gacha wheel, even, and he radiated the energy of someone who'd seen every possible outcome and still found the game interesting. Where? I tried to speak, realized I didn't have a mouth, but somehow spoke anyway because apparently physics was optional now. Am I dead? Extremely. The being manifested a throne of gold and velvet, then dropped into it like he had all the time in the world. Bullet went straight through. You were gone before you hit concrete. Victor's probably still staring at your corpse wondering if he needs to call cleanup or if he can just dump you in the river like all the others. I processed this. So I really did it. Actually went through with it. But first, the sight of this being clicked something in my memory. Wait, I think I saw your image on a gacha site, aren't you him, the RNGesus? The being changes his posture to be more dignified as he raises his screen of a face. Well, my reputation precedes me. Yes mortal, I am him. Image here. Just as John was about to bow in this being's reverence, he heard a small squeak. Gah, I said it, I've always wanted to say it. Bet Lady Luck will finally be impressed. All reverence and respect left John's posture as he cupped his face with both his face muttering, Wallahi, I'm finished. Causing the beings to take a second to understand the undertone, and he spoke in indignation, hey, that's not even my religion, and for Allah's sake, be respectful, it's Ramadan after all. Jay lets go of his antics for a second and faces his reality. So what now? Is this the part where I get judged for my sins or whatever? Now, the being leaned forward, and I got the distinct impression he was grinning even though his face was currently showing a deck of cards being shuffled. Now I make you an offer. See, I'm what you might call a professional gambler. Been running tables since before your Omniverse had logic. I sponsor players sometimes, send them places, give them tools, and watch what happens. Entertainment, you know, gets boring being omnipotent if you don't spice things up. What kind of places? Other worlds. Entertainment for me and the others. The being gestured and the void rippled, and I felt presences watching from beyond the edges of perception, like eyes in the dark. We call ourselves Robs, random omnipotent beings for short. We get together, watch mortals try to beat impossible odds. Some of us rig the game, some make it harder just to see you squirm. Me, he smiled, I keep it pure gamble that is, you get what the dice give you. No cheating. They're watching now, as I looked everywhere but could only see those damn pachinko machines flickering lights all about. Oh yeah, word got out that I found a kid worthy of my gift. You're trending in the group chat. The Robs are taking bets on what you'll do next. RNGesus stood, in reality assembled itself around us like stage props. They want to see what you'll do with a second chance. A wheel materialized, massive, easily the size of a building, covered in labels that blurred and shifted like a slot machine from hell or heaven, in my case. I could feel the weight of potential worlds spinning past, and that old familiar pull started again. That itch. This is the world wheel, RNGesus said. Decides where you go. Could drop you somewhere easy, could drop you somewhere that'll kill you in 30 seconds. That's the beauty of it. Pure randomness. I watched the wheel. Even dead, I felt that familiar pull. The gambler's instinct that had destroyed my life and ended with my brains on a warehouse floor. And what do I get in exchange for your entertainment? Oh, haggling with gods are we? Very well, I like cheeky brats like you. You go in with what the Chaos Gacha gives you. It pulls from the infinite selection from the multiverse itself. RNGesus snapped his fingers, and a smaller wheel appeared with 5 sections, namely abilities, traits, skills, items, and familiars on it. Along with that 3 golden tickets materialized in my hands. It's the standard starter pack. 3 pulls worth of gold rarity. Could be trash, could be super useful. Won't know till you spin, and that's half the fun, isn't it? The anticipation. RNGesus spun a glowing coin across his fingers and glanced at John. And a quick rundown on feats. He flicked the coin into the air and it turned into 3 golden gacha tickets. A feat is anything impressive you pull off. Big fights, crazy risks, impossible wins. The kind of stunt that makes the Robs actually look up from whatever nonsense they're watching. John nodded. He already guessed the type. RNGesus continued. So remember this, he said, tossing the glowing ticket to John. Do something impressive, keep the Robs entertained, and the house pays out. The pachinko bar held its breath as I felt the Robs watching, waiting to see what I'd choose, and I realized something. I'd never really had a choice before. Family picked my life, decided what schools I'd attend, what connections I'd make, what future I'd have. Addiction picked my death, dragged me down until the only way out was a gun barrel. This was the first time someone offered me a real gamble with a damn real choice. Let's see what we're working with first, I said. Spin the world wheel, please. RNGesus grinned wide. Now you're speaking my language. The massive wheel spun, and worlds blurred past. Warhammer 40k, grimdark nightmare where everything wants to kill you, hell to the fuck no. The boy's too depressing and I'd probably end up as collateral damage covered up by some PR manager. DC Universe reality breaks every Tuesday there, plus they have that strict rule of no killing, and I wouldn't gel with that. Marvel cosmic threats on rotation and somehow even worse than DC. Worm, fascinating world building but Jesus Christ that's brutal. My Hero Academia, I could use this one. Naruto, nah, Boruto ruined the power scaling for the verse. Solo leveling tempting as long as I don't get on Jin Woo's bad side and have him mog all over me. The wheel slowed, ticked past danger zones, but then the friendly worlds, and I held my non-existent breath. It finally stopped on one label. Invincible, RNGesus announced as 777 rolled on his screen. My stomach dropped, which was impressive considering I was pretty sure I didn't have one. Viltrumites. Fucking Viltrumites who could punch through planets. Omni-Man playing house while planning a global takeover. An entire empire of near-immortal warriors who'd conquered thousands of planets. But the world had rules. Clear power scaling and no reality-bending comic nonsense like DC or Marvel. Better than cosmic entities rewriting reality because they were sad or because a writer needed a plot device. Could be worse, I said, trying to convince myself. Could be way worse. RNGesus gestured at the golden tickets. Now, let's see what tools you get. Rip and pray to me that you get something good. I tore the first ticket, and text appeared in front of my eyes like a game interface. Call to Arms. Elite ability. Upon use, Call to Arms rolls the corresponding familiar gacha to temporarily grant you a familiar to fight by your side for the duration of 1 hour, after which they will disappear. At 1 ability slot, you pull a familiar from the bronze gacha, 2 slots equals silver, 3 slots equals gold, 4 slots equals platinum and caps out at 5 slots equals diamond gacha. 24-hour cooldown. Note: player begin with 1 ability slot, which determines the number of active abilities you can use. Each ability uses 1 slot. Swapping an ability triggers a 5-minute cooldown for that specific slot before it can be changed again. I suddenly felt a sting in myself as if elevating me from normal to everything beyond it, as I feel a connection to the gacha wheel more intimate than before, especially when I see the familiars in the possible options as if ready to respond to my beck and call, albeit only to the rare and below types. I examined this, my mind already racing through possibilities. Temporary backup with their quality only increases as I grow my ability slots or whatever these are. Strategically flexible, but still, I could pull cannon fodder or could pull something powerful. Okay, this is, actually pretty versatile. I can work with this. But what are these ability slots and how can I grow them? RNGesus replies, oh right, I forgot to tell you. By default, you start with 1 ability slot. Ability slots dictate how many abilities you can have active and use at once. Every ability occupies a single ability slot and switching out an ability from an ability slot makes it go into a 5-minute cooldown before you can switch that specific slot again. By default you start with a single ability slot and gain a new ability slot every 5 abilities you have by default, but you can decide to do it some other way. I nod, that's pretty methodical to stop me from a power creep. Then I moved on to the second ticket and tore it as another screen appeared before me, as the gacha hell rolls again. Chaos response. Elite trait. Your existence as chaos is defined by the Chaos Gacha, automatically causing feedback to whatever tries to peek into your existence. Future seeing gets scrambled and incoherent. Abilities that try to read into you will malfunction and trying to read your mind will cause them a great headache at minimum. I feel a dome of sorts wrap around my brain and fit perfectly between the gray matter and my skull. A bit on the weaker side, but really good deference, I muttered, thinking out loud. Only helps against psychics and precogs. From what I remember, Invincible's more flying bricks and sci-fi tech than mental powers, but better to have it than not. Blocks intel gathering at least. Can't predict what they can't see clearly. RNGesus laughed, already thinking tactically. Good, you'll need that. And now the last one. I ripped the third ticket without any ceremony as it turned to light and condensed into my arms as a vial of blue liquid. Modified Compound V. Rare item. The boys, upon consuming this, the drinker will gain a random ability from the gold gacha that they can use even when in ability storage. On the one hand, I was happy that I essentially got an ability roll without the need to use up an ability slot, but on the other hand, I was a bit disappointed, as if this was a normal ability it would have been sweet to increase the ability count and quickly get another ability slot to increase my familiar summoning pool from the gacha. This is the real gamble, I said quietly. Everything hinges on this pull. One random ability that could save my life or be completely worthless. Exactly. RNGesus's grin widened, and I could tell he was enjoying this. You could drink it now, take your chances and see what you get. Or, he paused, letting the tension build. You could ask for a reroll. Silence stretched throughout the parlor as the pachinko machine suddenly stopped. 29 comments, 0 vote. Monkey's paw. ROB or not, nobody hands out favors from the kindness of their heart, so what's the catch? If you want to reroll, you gotta gamble for it. Welcome to the high-stakes table, or as I like to call it, Curse Gacha. RNGesus snapped his fingers and the wheel transformed. Cheerful colors bled into ominous reds and blacks, like watching a carnival ride turn into something from a horror movie. New labels appeared, ranked 1 through 20. Roll or a curse and get a better ticket. Severity determines reward. Fair trade, isn't it? Equal exchange. The worse the curse, the better the reward, and most importantly, better entertainment for us. I studied the wheel. Low severity curses barely registered as inconveniences, but high severity, those could be fatal. The void watched. The rob waited, and I felt that pull again. This was it. This was that moment where everything was on the line, just like in Victor's warehouse. My mom always called me a curse upon the family. This seems fitting, I said, trying to poke humor at the situation. RNGesus leaned forward. But here's the thing, kid. Some curses will kill you before you even land, some will make you wish you'd died in that warehouse. Some will follow you forever, make your life a living hell. Remember this: the choices you make now and later will always follow you as consequences. I thought about Victor's warehouse, about the gun, about pulling that trigger on 50-50 odds and losing. About my entire life being a series of bad bets that I kept doubling down on. I'm already dead, I said. What's there to lose? My dignity, already lost that. My life, already gone. Fuck it, let's gamba. The pachinko parlor erupted with lights and alarms from multiple sources. The Robs were enjoying this, and I got the feeling I'd just made their night. Oh, you're perfect, RNGesus said. Alright, spin the curse wheel. Let's see if your luck holds or if it runs out the same way it did in that warehouse. I nodded. Right, so I needed to manage the risk. Don't bet the whole stack on one hand when you're already down. I spun for middle severity, aimed for that sweet spot between reward and survivability. Severity 812 range seemed reasonable. The wheel spun, ticked past horrors I couldn't quite read, slowed around and finally stopped. Neat freak. Minor curse. You are bound by compulsion to be neat, making you very uncomfortable when you are dirty and slightly decreasing your energy recovery and output when you are dirty. Resolve. Achieve adept level discipline or a trait that increases your mental resilience. Pipe. Reward. 1x gold random gacha ticket. Low severity. Way lower than I'd been worried about, but I wasn't complaining. Manageable handicap: I'd just need to keep clean, which honestly wasn't the worst curse I could have gotten. Plus, the gold ticket was too juicy to ignore. I tore the ticket immediately, and that familiar rush of anticipation hit. Polymerization. Elite ability. Allows you to temporarily fuse your familiars together or with yourself. The stronger familiars you fuse together with yourself or between them, the higher the energy cost. Keeping two entities fused together drain energy over time. My hands twitched as I saw two swirling tattoos on my wrists that reminded me of the famous Yu-Gi-Oh card, with fusion energy surging between them. My mind raced as I saw a synergy between my pulls. Fusion ability. Holy shit, this combines with Call to Arms. I summon familiars with that, merge them together with this for temporary power spikes, or fuse with them myself for short-term boosts. This has so much potential. I looked at RNGesus with a cocky smile. I can just be Ben 10 with familiars instead of aliens. Is that so? Looks like I'm rubbing off on you, RNGesus said, watching me with approval. One more round. I cheered, riding that high. 4 eyes. Minor curse. You have naturally bad eyesight. causing you to need glasses to be able to see properly. Thankfully, the curse comes with a single pair of prescription glasses. Resolve: get your eyes fixed by either someone with at least adept level medicine or a biokinetics ability, or heal your condition through magical means. Pipe. Reward: 1x gold random gacha ticket. Ah, this is what I'm fucking talking about. I cheered as I felt my eyesight go fuzzy, and soon I was barely able to see things clearly as everything around me was blurry, but fortunately, a pair of glasses materialized in my hand, which I was quick to wear. Ah, this is perfect. As I tore the golden ticket. Minimap. Uncommon ability: you have a minimap in the corner of your vision that automatically maps where you go, and reveals the location of enemies in places you have seen as long as you know they are hostile to you. You can enlarge and zoom the minimap as you like. My blurry eyes suddenly shot with an itch as a game-like minimap appeared in the corner of my eyesight. As I got accustomed to having a map 24x7 on my view, even if I close my eyes, I mutter after thinking thoughtfully, not bad at all. Now, little gambler, the question is, do you push your luck? You've got a decent foundation. Could stop here, honestly. Play it safe for once in your life. I examined my loadout. Call to arms for summoning. Polymerization for fusion. Chaos response for defense against mental intrusion. Minimap for scouting. Modified compound V for one random permanent ability that didn't eat a slot. I definitely had a solid foundation. Not great, but solid NU. But in a world with Viltrumites who could punch through planets, I knew I was getting cocky. Feeling that old familiar pull, that itch in my head that had destroyed everything. The one that said, one more hand, one more bet, just one more and you'll hit big. The one that had ruined my life the first time. But fuck it, I was already dead, wasn't I? I spun the curse wheel again. The parlor rolled its lights in frenzy as if sensing something coming. The Rob leaned in, and I could feel their attention like physical weight. The wheel spun. I watched it blur past low severities 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 past middle range 8, 9, 10, 11 into high range 13, 14, 15. My non-existent heart pounded heavily. It finally slowed, ticked past 15, 16, 17, stopped on 18. Mortal enemy. Severe curse. Someone really strong is really mad at you. The moment you awaken in your world, someone at least epic familiar in strength or a target closest to that level is going to be imbued with absolute hatred towards you and will stop at nothing to tear you apart. Resolve: kill or neutralize your mortal enemy. Pipe. Reward: 1x platinum random gacha ticket. The parlor exploded with red alarm lights, and I felt my stomach drop through infinite layers of reality. Severity 18. RNGesus howled as his screen rolled 3 skulls simultaneously. Kid, you magnificent idiot. You just painted a goddamn target on your back before you even touched down. Someone super strong's gonna wake up tomorrow with an inexplicable, overwhelming urge to murder you specifically, and you won't even know how and why. They'll just want you dead. I felt ice in my non-existent veins. Epic level strength in Invincible meant, fuck. Omni-Man, Battle Beast, Conquest. Any of them could turn me into red mist without even trying. One punch. That's all it would take. Fuck on shit sticks, I said quietly. I really fucked up this time. Alright, I'm calling it a night. No more curses. You went all in on a garbage hand. RNGesus was actually crying with laughter now, like this was the funniest thing he'd seen in a long time. It's beautiful. The Robs are loving this. The betting pool just tripled. And no need to worry, mortal, the curse roll is always available if you're ever in the gambling mood. Quote. I stared at the platinum ticket floating in front of me. My mind raced. A strong enemy hunting me from day one. I'd need every single advantage I could get just to survive the first week. My hand shook as I tore the ticket. Nakame, epic familiar. Demon Slayer is one of the Kizuku. Nakame has formidable physical strength and regeneration, although lacking compared to her peers. Her blood art manifests as a pocket dimension called the Infinity Castle under her control. Infinity Castle is an infinite realm of the inside of a wooden medieval Japanese castle. She can create portals to this realm in the form of sliding wooden doors she can manifest on any surface she can perceive. I felt my soul expand as a new connection formed within it. Something deep inside me shifted, opening like a hidden chamber. A new subspace had appeared within my spirit. A place meant for familiars. And someone was already there. Through the strange link I could sense her presence clearly now. Nakame, the Onide demon, upper rank 4, she sat calmly within the space, kneeling with her biwa resting across her lap, her single eye watching everything with quiet patience. The faint inscription of, upper rank 4, seemed almost etched into the essence of her being. Then, pluck, the soft sound of her biwa echoed through the connection. The moment the note resonated, a deep calm washed over me, like the world itself had steadied. Her voice followed, quiet and composed. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, master. There was no hesitation in her tone, only composed loyalty. With but a single word, I will serve. Another gentle note rang from her instrument as she bowed her head slightly. And I realized something important. I had gained my first familiar. Okay, I can work with this, I said, trying to convince myself I hadn't just signed my death warrant. Nakame at least gives me storage, a safe house, and an escape route when everything goes to shit. I looked at RNGesus. I won't win straight fights against those threats right away. No way in hell, but I can be slippery, play it smart. Play the long game and hope they get bored or I get strong enough to actually fight back. Assuming you survive long enough to play any game, RNGesus said. I've already died once, I said, despite shaking a bit. Might as well make the second run interesting. Go big or go home, right? And I don't even have a home to go back to. The parlor shone a bright gold as all the machines rolled jackpot simultaneously, as if celebrating his choice. Alright, kid, RNGesus stood. Last thing before I drop you in. The Robs and I are betting on you. How long you last, what you accomplish, whether you survive at all. Most of you dead within a week, some pessimists say 3 days, a few optimists give you a month, and I've got money on you making it past year 1 because I like your style. What's the over-under? 3 weeks. Odds are 8 to 1 against you seeing your 19th birthday. You're currently the longest longshot bet in the Cosmic Casino. I laughed, actually laughed, because what else was there to do? Those are shit odds. Best kind. RNGesus extended something approximating a hand. Welcome to the game, John Strange fake. Try not to die immediately. I'm rooting for you. I've got my date with Lady Luck riding on this. I shook it. The void was already pulling me away, reality assembling itself around me in pieces like a jigsaw puzzle, and I felt the familiar rush of anticipation mixed with terror. And kid, RNGesus called out. Next time you gamble, maybe ease up before the house takes everything. You've got a problem, you know that. Where's the fun in that? I said as a hole appeared below where I stood, abruptly. Oh, and before I forget, happy birthday John, RNGesus announced finally. John dropped into a universe full of super freaks and alien supers with a hard-on for violence, raw and unprepared. Exactly how I preferred it. All in, 29 comments 0 vote. No one survives the first drop. I never thought I'd say this, but falling through space is fucking terrifying. My body tumbled through the universe, watching galaxies blur past like I was on the world's worst roller coaster. Colossal aliens floated around out there, things the size of planets just drifting through the void, and I caught glimpses of entire star systems spinning past me as reality assembled itself around me. Then I saw Earth, beautiful blue marble, just like in the pictures, getting closer and closer and, oh fuck. I wasn't slowing down, at all. I was going to hit the planet like a meteor and splatter across the atmosphere, and wouldn't that be fucking hilarious? Dying from a Russian roulette, get a second chance from an omnipotent gambling god, spin for a bunch of abilities, and die on entry because RNGesus forgot to mention the whole, you're gonna literally droppin' part. Panic clawed at my chest. My lungs refused to work right, every breath shallow and quick. Which should go without saying, should be as impossible as the sweat slicking my palms in the void of space. The planet grew larger, filling my vision, and my heart hammered so hard I thought it might break free from my ribcage entirely. This wasn't the controlled fear from the warehouse, this was raw, animal terror of knowing you're about to die and there's nothing you can do to stop it. My mind raced. I was currently doing Mach fuck knows what through space. Call to arms. What familiar could survive this? I can't really rely on my luck for this. Polymerization. Fuse with what? My own panic. Wait, my familiar. She has access to it. I focused, remembering the feeling of my familiar space. Nakime. I screamed into the void, not sure if this would even work. Open a goddamn door, now. Image here. For a second, nothing happened, and I thought I'd just signed my death warrant for the second time in one day. Then reality tore open in front of me. A gigantic sliding door, with traditional tatami design, materialized out of nowhere as I heard the single pluck of a 4-string biwa string somewhere in my mind. The door slid open to reveal the interior of a sprawling feudal castle, and I shot through it like a bullet, leaving Earth's atmosphere behind. Meanwhile, somewhere above Earth, Martian Man was running training exercises with the new green ghost, some kid named Brittany Lycan who'd inherited her powers recently and needed to learn how not to accidentally phase through the planet's core and end up floating in space. Again, he said patiently, his brown Martian features composed as he watched the kid struggle with her intangibility. You need to maintain focus on your molecular. A streak of golden energy shot past them, falling like a comet toward Earth. Both of them stopped, whatever they were doing, and stared. What the hell was that? Green Ghost 2 asked, her voice cracking slightly as her ghostly form flickered. Unknown. Martial Man's eyes narrowed, shifting to his vision to track the object. They flew toward it, but the comet just vanished. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone, as if it had never existed. Martial Man, did we just see that? Or am I going crazy? We need to contact Cecil. Immediately. At the GDA headquarters deep beneath the Pentagon, Cecil Stedman was having a perfectly normal day, which meant dealing with 3 international incidents, 2 rogue supervillains, and a group of teen supers who were doing more collateral damage than the villains. His jaw twitched beneath the long scar stretching across his left jaw as he reached for another cigarette. The pack was already half empty, and it wasn't even noon. Story of his life these days. Suddenly, his communicator buzzed. What now? He asked, cigarette dangling from his lips as he leaned back in his chair, not bothering to hide his irritation. His shoulder-length silver hair, formerly a medium blonde before the stress of this job aged him prematurely, fell across his face as he leaned forward. Sir, Martian Man reporting. Unknown object, possibly alien, attempted atmospheric entry at extreme velocity. Object disappeared before impact, and when we reached its last known position, there was no trace left. Cecil's fingers drummed once on his desk, a tell he'd never quite broken when something bothered him. Run perimeter patrol, report anything suspicious. Cecil hummed for a moment, drumming his fingers harder. Donald. Donald looked up from his terminal, already dreading the question. The high-ranking GDA agent had served under Cecil long enough to know when his boss was about to make his life difficult. How the hell did we miss an alien object trying to enter our atmosphere? Sir, it was too fast and too small to pinpoint. Our system was optimized for larger threats. If Martian Man and Green Ghost 2 hadn't seen it visually, we wouldn't have even known it was there. Cecil pulled another cigarette from the pack. Fuck his lungs, this job was going to kill him anyway. Run global scans, satellite thermal imaging, gravitational disturbance sensors, the works. I want eyes on everything. If something that fast can slip past our defenses, we need to know about it before it becomes a problem. And Donald? Yes, sir. Pull up files on anything that can go invisible or phase through the atmosphere. If this thing vanished, it either cloaked itself or went somewhere we can't track. I crashed into the Infinity Castle like a wrecking ball. The scale of the place shook my senses first. Infinite Japanese feudal architecture stretching in impossible directions, rooms and hallways and courtyards existing in spaces that shouldn't fit, all lit by that eerie otherworldly glow. Massive pillars rose into darkness, tatami mat floors extended endlessly, and sliding doors appeared and disappeared like breath. The air smelled old, like incense and aged wood, with an underlying scent I couldn't place. Everything glowed with eerie lights. The temperature was cool but not cold, perfectly neutral, and that in itself felt way too unnatural. I caught a glimpse of Nakame sitting in designated court, her pale skin almost gray in the dim light, long dark brown hair falling in waves past her waist with those distinctive chin-length strands framing her face. Her single large eye, the kanji for 4, carved into it after her promotion to upper rank 4, watched me hurtle past at what had to be a few hundred miles per hour, her 4-string biwa resting in her lap. Thankfully, my glasses were still on my face. Otherwise, I'd be flying blind into walls at terminal velocity. Before I could even speak, my momentum carried me past her. I was going to die. The thought hit with crystal clarity. After the warehouse, after RNGesus, after getting actual powers and a second chance, I was going to splatter against a wall in a pocket dimension. My stomach lurched, my vision tunneled, and every cell in my body screamed that this was it, this was the end, again, and there was nothing I could do but watch it happen. Nakame plucked her biwa with practiced fingers, and reality shifted. The sharp, Blue-stained nails that had once belonged to a talented musician before she became a demon moved with precision across the strings. Tatami doors appeared, redirecting me upward, using gravity to fight against my momentum. Smart girl. The entire castle bent to her will, rooms rotating, floors becoming walls, the fortress itself acting like one enormous spatial manipulation device. It helped a little, but I was still going way too fast. Any impact at this speed would turn me into chunky salsa, as my normal human body isn't exactly built for this. Fuck, I screamed, seeing a wall approaching fast. Call to arms. 13 comments, 0 vote. Barely alive still counts. Fuck, I screamed, seeing a wall approaching fast. Call to arms. I had one ability slot. One shot at this. I activated the ability, felt it pull from the bronze tier pool and prayed to that RNGbastard that I got something useful. The gacha spun in my mind, and I got Puar, rare familiar. Dragon Ball Puar is a weird floating cat creature. Although she has little to no real combat ability, she graduated from Transformation Academy, allowing her to change her physical form to anything, ranging from objects to people, without changing her stats. She is also capable of teaching transformation to others as long as they have the talent and time. A floating cat. I got a floating cat. At least she could shapeshift. Image here. Puar, I shouted as the small blue-furred creature materialized next to me, looking confused and disoriented, her little cat ears twitching. Transform into something that can slow me down. Big, now. To her credit, she didn't hesitate. Her body rippled, expanding rapidly as she transformed into a gigantic pterodactyl, wings spread wide like a parachute, and grabbed me with her claws. The sudden drag helped, her massive frame acting like an air brake, but I was still going too fast, and her grip was slipping. Another tatami door appeared in front of us, and suddenly we were angled differently, gravity pulling sideways instead of down, and Puar managed to adjust mid-flight, using her wings to break against the impossible geometry of the castle until finally we slowed down enough for her to land without killing us both. I hit the floor hard. My whole body shook, muscles twitching from adrenaline overload, and I couldn't catch my breath. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest, pounding so hard it hurt. Sweat soaked through my clothes. My hands trembled uncontrollably, and my body couldn't quite believe it was still alive and in one piece. A tatami door materialized next to me with the soft sound of wood sliding on tracks, and Nakame appeared, immediately dropping into a respectful Seiza stance, her head bowed low, forehead nearly touching the ground. Her plain black kimono with white lining rustled softly, the brown striped obi tied perfectly. She wore white socks but no shoes, and her biwa rested beside her as she maintained perfect posture. I just stared at the ceiling, trying to process what had just happened. What the fuck, RNGesus? I shouted at nothing, my voice echoing through the infinite castle. What kind of entertainment am I if I die on entry? Is this funny to you? Is this? A screen appeared in front of my eyes, glowing text that made me stop midrant. Feat achieved. Survive a literal fall from outer void with little to no damage. Reward. +1 gold random gacha ticket. I stared at the notification. Then I couldn't help but start laughing. It came out as hysterical, slightly unhinged laughter that echoed through the infinite castle. Another ticket and I'd earned it by almost dying. You absolute bastard, I wheezed, still laughing. You threw me at a planet just to see if I'd survive and earn a ticket. The Robs were probably losing their minds right now. The betting pool had probably exploded. And I'd just proven I could survive stupid shit through sheer luck and desperation. I lay there for what felt like hours but what was maybe 10 minutes, not that I could tell anyway, just existing, feeling my heartbeat gradually slow from panic sprint to something approaching normal. The adrenaline crash hit like a truck. My muscles felt like wet noodles, my thoughts scattered and unfocused. I'd survived. Somehow, against all the fucking odds, I'd survived. The relief was almost as overwhelming as the terror had been. When I finally opened my eyes and put on my glasses, Nakame was still in her Seiza stance, head bowed, waiting patiently like the dutiful demon she'd been trained to be under Muzan. Puar had transformed back into her regular small blue cat-like form and was floating around curiously, her innate levitation ability letting her explore the castle with wide-eyed wonder and occasional worried glances back at me, as if checking I was actually okay. Nakame, I said, my voice came hoarse. You can raise your head. Why are you still bowing? This one would not presume to rise without Master's express command, she said quietly, her voice respectful but firm. If I'd been some normal person, I probably would have found it weird, would have acted all awkward and told her to stop. But I'd grown up with wealth, had seen how servants acted around my family, that complete submission to their employers. This wasn't new, just more extreme. She was a demon who'd served upper-rank demons and the Demon King himself. This level of deference was probably second nature. "Hey, flying squirrel," I called to Puar. "Come here for a second." She floated over, looking indignant, her little paws crossing. "Puar's a cat, not a flying squirrel." The voice was higher pitched than I expected, almost childlike. "Yeah, whatever. Look, I need to ask you both something. Where did you come from? How did you get here?" Puar tilted her head, thinking as her cat ears twitched. Puar doesn't know. Puar wasn't anywhere, and then Puar heard someone calling for help, and Puar just answered. But Puar feels really sleepy now. 1 hour duration. Right, she's a temporary summon and would fade back soon. I thought, stomach sinking at the thought of losing such a useful ally already. Nakame spoke next, her head still bowed respectfully, not daring to look up. "Master, I was upper rank 4 under Lord Muzan in my world. After I was decapitated crushed, actually, when Lord Muzan killed me to prevent Yushiro from using my castle against him, I was offered a choice. Perish into nothingness, or serve a new master. I chose service. I chose you, master. I took my time and processed this. So temporary summons like Puar were given brief access to reality, just long enough to help. But permanent familiars like Nakame had full consciousness, full memories of their deaths, and were bound by absolute loyalty that went beyond even what they'd felt for their original masters. Different mechanics. Same result, they'd help me survive. I tried to stand up, but my legs were jelly, completely shot from adrenaline crash and terror. I wobbled and fell back on my ass, and both Nakame and Puar moved to help. "I think I'm still in shock from being literally dropped into this world," I muttered. "Give me a minute too." Nakame plucked her biwa with one hand, and a tatami door opened beneath me. I fell through, landing on something incredibly soft, and found myself in a room that looked like it belonged to a feudal lord. Royal Japanese bed with silk sheets, luxury furnishings that would have cost a fortune in any era, everything decorated in that traditional aesthetic that screamed wealth and power. The room was easily the size of my entire first floor back home. Before I could even process where I was or ask questions, exhaustion came crashing down on me. My eyelids turned to lead, my thoughts turned to soup, and my body just gave up. Sleep took me under, and I didn't even fight it. My last thought before unconsciousness: at least I survived day 1. The Robs were probably disappointed I hadn't died yet. Fuck 'em, I had a gold ticket to roll when I woke up. 16 comments 0 vote, the itch to gamble. I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck, which, considering I'd literally fallen from space just a while back, was probably the best I could ask for. Everything was blurry, and for a second I thought I'd somehow damaged my eyes during the whole crashing into a pocket dimension at terminal velocity thing. Great. Add blindness to my list of problems right after. A powerhouse enemy wants me dead, and stuck in a universe where people punch through planets. Then a hand appeared in my vision, offering what looked like glasses. I took them, put them on, and everything snapped into focus. Nakame was there, still in that respectful bow, her single eye with its carved kanji watching me patiently. Her hand was still extended in that offering gesture, like she'd been waiting for me to wake up just to hand me glasses. Did I need glasses before? I asked, my voice hoarse. And then it snapped, right, my 4 eyes, curse. I seriously need to stop forgetting shit. The gacha giveth, and the gacha maketh you need prescription lenses. At least I could see clearly now, albeit with glasses. I looked around the room, still that luxurious feudal lord aesthetic. Silk sheets rippled like water across the bed. Century-old wooden furnishings and massive carved ceiling beams spoke of master craftsmanship. Pristine tatami mats carried the fresh scent of cut grass, likely replaced by Nakame, while shoji screens softened the light into a warm amber glow. The whole room was screaming royal fortune. Image here. Where's Puar? The small one returned to her resting place shortly after you fell asleep, master. She said if she got the chance, she'd be back to play with us again. Nakim's voice was barely above a whisper, with a respectful tone she probably used with Muzan. Then the memories grew clearer in waves. My death in Victor's warehouse, the bullet through my skull. Meeting RNGesus in that pachinko parlor. Spinning the world wheel and landing on Invincible of all places. The curse wheel hitting severity 18 and giving me a mortal enemy. Falling through space like a golden comet. That last second pull summoning Puar to save me from becoming a splatter on the castle wall. And then another notification appeared. Feat achieved. Draw attention of Global Defense Agency. Reward. +1 silver random gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Survive your first day in the Invincible world. Reward. +1 silver random gacha ticket. I stared at it. How the hell did they notice me already? Then again, a man falling from space in a golden trail of energy, opening a giant tatami gate mid-atmosphere and disappearing probably wasn't exactly subtle. From what I remember about the Global Defense Agency, they are people who monitored superhuman threats and kept tabs on aliens, and had probably been the ones to spot me. Of course they had. Cecil probably had a file on me already, cross-referencing me with every alien threat in their database. Great. Just great. Day 1 and I'd already painted a target on my back for both the superhero community and whoever my mortal enemy was going to be. I got up from the bed, but before I could even take a step forward, a sudden sting ran through my brain like someone jabbed an ice pick into my skull. My eyes locked onto the messy bed, the rumpled sheets, askew pillow and blanket twisted at the wrong angle. It felt wrong. My skin crawled and that itch in my brain intensified, spreading down my spine, demanding I fix it, now. My hands moved on their own, tucking corners, smoothing wrinkles, adjusting angles until the bed looked like it belonged in a hotel magazine. Nakame looked horrified. She immediately prostrated herself, her forehead touching the floor. This one begs forgiveness, master. I failed to realize my duty. I should have prepared the bed in proper fashion. Please, allow me. She practically lunged at the bed, and within seconds had it remade with experience that came from centuries of serving Demon King who'd probably kill you for getting a wrinkle wrong. I stared at my hands, then at the bed, then at Nakame who was still bowing apologetically. So this is the neat freak curse, I muttered. The compulsion was an actual mental itch that wouldn't go away until things were organized. Nakame, keep everything organized and tidy in my room and wherever possible, but no need to go all out on an infinity-sized castle. We'd be cleaning forever. I will remember Master's first true command, Nakame said, bowing even deeper. I looked down at myself and winced. My blue suit, the one I'd been wearing when I died, was in tatters. Ripped at the seams, burned at the edges, barely holding together. I was honestly glad that was the only damage. Could have been worse. Could have arrived naked from space. Is there a bathing room? I asked. And some decent clothes that aren't in tatters. Nakame plucked her biwa with one hand and a tatami door slid open to my left, revealing an indoor hot spring. Steam rose from the water, and I could see traditional Japanese bath fixtures, wooden buckets, the whole aesthetic. I'd been to Japan on annual trips back when my family still claimed me, visited actual hot springs in Hakone and Beppu. This looked just as good, maybe better. A permanent hot spring bath in my pocket dimension. Hell yeah. I walked toward the bath, already pulling off my destroyed jacket, when I stopped short of removing my underwear. I turned my head slightly and saw her in the middle of undressing, her black kimono already loosened, the obi coming undone as her pale cold skin glistened in the lantern lights. Nakame, I said calmly, or I hope so, what are you doing? She stopped, looking confused. It's a servant's duty to attend and cleanse her master, is it not? No, I said quickly, holding up my hands. This is not feudal times. Just get my clothes ready and get out. She looked momentarily puzzled but she bowed and exited through another tatami door that appeared at her biwa's command. I finally exhaled. Look, I wasn't some shy virgin simp who'd never seen a woman before. The fake family had thrown enough galas and parties that I'd seen plenty. But this felt wrong. The power dynamic between me and my familiars was already completely lopsided, absolute loyalty, unable to refuse orders and bound to serve. Taking advantage of that, even if she was offering, didn't sit right with me. I had enough problems without adding, skeevy master who abuses his servants to the list. I stripped down and sank into the hot spring with a groan. The heat hit like a wave, seeping into muscles I didn't know were tense. Steam rose around me, carrying that mineral smell you only get from natural springs. The water was almost too hot at first, but my body adjusted and then it was perfect. The ache in my shoulders started to unwind. The tension in my neck loosened. Even the lingering fear from the space fall began to fade, replaced by the simple animal comfort of warmth and water. This was exactly what I needed. After soaking for a few minutes, I took inventory. 1 silver ticket from attracting GDA attention. 1 gold ticket from surviving the fall from space, TCH, that miser bastards only gave gold when I'd literally survived space re-entry. And the modified compound V still sitting in my item storage, waiting to be used. Then I remembered the mortal enemy curse and I could only sigh. I needed to prepare, needed to use every card I had before that enemy showed up. This was the moment. 1 more spin, 1 more pull, 1 more chance at power. The itch was back, that same familiar feeling from the warehouse, from every bet I had ever made. Just 1 more. It was always just 1 more chance. So, still in the bath, I mentally pulled up my first silver ticket and tore it. The gacha spun. Impulse. Uncommon ability. Allows you to quicken the electrical signals in your body, increasing your reflexes and speed proportionally. Overusing may cause nerve damage. My nerves suddenly heated up, pain shooting through my entire body like someone ran electricity through my veins. I gritted my teeth, ready to scream, but before it became unbearable, the heat cooled instantly, settling into something manageable. I could feel it now, the ability to amplify signals between my nerves and speed up my reactions. I quickly slotted it in and tested it, making mudras and hand signs at near blind speed, moving my eyes at incredible speed to track my own hands. It fucking worked. My reflexes were faster and my perception sharper. But after a while of messing around, both my eyes and fingers heated up, that warning sign of overuse. I had to stop before I fried my nervous system. So, that's the limit. Couldn't spam it indefinitely, but in close quarters combat, it could come in clutch to save my life. Then I tore up the second silver ticket. Blademaster. Rare ability. Unordinary, allows you to create a variety of blades made of energy, ranging from throwing knives, katanas, sabers, large great swords, etc., while also providing a minor strength boost. A painful current ran through my mind, like someone was downloading a file directly into my brain. Information flooded in different types of blades, construction techniques, how to mold my energy into shapes, whatever the hell that meant. Fuck yeah, I yelped, actually excited for once. My first offensive ability. Finally, I wouldn't just be the useless young master hiding behind his demon servant while she did all the work. I focused, and on pure instinct, a small 6-inch blade materialized in my hand. Silver energy, crackling and sharp looking, like something out of an anime. It felt right, natural, like my body had always known how to do this. As I tried to increase its size, my stomach churned loudly as the blade dispersed, seemed like the energy they were talking about enemy calories. Which meant if I spammed this ability too much, I'd literally starve myself to death. Great, another limitation to keep track of. Between the neat freak compulsion, the glasses, the nerve damage from impulse, and now energy blades that ran on my metabolism, I was collecting drawbacks like Pokemon. Now for the gold ticket. In a good mood I tore it mentally, and the gacha rolled again. Zero gravity. Uncommon ability. Your body moves as if it is in a zero gravity environment, allowing you to freely float, although without much control. I felt my connection to a fundamental force suddenly sever. And there I was floating above the bath, with my junk hanging down, with absolutely no control over my movement. What the? I tried to turn, to orient myself, but this was way harder than it looked. I flailed, spun slowly and helplessly like an astronaut who'd let go of their tether. I switched the ability off. Gravity reasserted itself immediately, and I fell ass first onto the spring stone base with a painful thud. Ow, 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 I yelped, clutching my ass. That was going to bruise. Then another notification appeared. 5 abilities collected, second ability slot added. All the pain vanished from my mind. 2 ability slots, which meant my call to arms ability could now pull from the silver familiar pool instead of just bronze. Time to trade up, huh, and more importantly, I could use polymerization and call to arms at the same time now. Could summon a familiar and fuse with it for a power boost. The build was coming together. 12 comments, 0 vote. Oops, wrong base. The build was coming together. Satisfied, I pulled out the modified compound V from my mental item storage. The vial materialized in my hand, but instead of the blue liquid I remembered from the boys, this was shimmering, almost glowing gold. This could be a pivotal moment. The ability it gave wouldn't eat an ability slot and would stay with me forever. It could synergize perfectly with what I had, turn me into an actual threat. Or it could be complete trash that ruined my future plans. But I'd never been good at playing it safe. All in, I said out loud, and downed the vial in one gulp. The liquid hit my tongue first as expensive and smooth, like that 60-year Chardonnay I'd stolen from my father's personal collection years ago just to see what the fuzz was about. Rich, complex, with a burn that settled warm in my chest. Then the notification appeared. Immunity system. Rare ability. While immutable is an active ability slot, you are immune to poisons, diseases and negative biological effects. My body felt light, like a burden I hadn't even realized I was carrying suddenly lifted. My immune system, which had been working overtime trying to adapt to this new universe with its unknown pathogens and unvaccinated diseases, finally rested. This was a godsend, especially in a multiverse with unknown diseases, alien biology, demon blood, and God knows what else. And it was permanent and didn't eat an ability slot. Just always there, always protecting me. I was so overcome with gratitude that I bowed my head in the bath, brought my hands together in prayer, and started thanking my patron. Our gambler, thou in art in casino, hallowed be thy RNG, thy gacha come, thy will be spun, on earth as it is in. Ahem. A cough interrupted me. I turned to see Nakame standing at the edge of the bath, her single eye filled with worried concern. Master, are you alright? Are you running a fever from being in the bath too long? I wanted to drown of embarrassment. All the aura I built up, it's gone. Have you prepared the clothes? I asked quickly, changing the subject. She moved to the edge of the bath, sat in her proper Caesar stance, and presented a set of clothes. The first thing I notice is a long black coat draped loosely over the shoulders, falling like a cape with quiet elegance. Looking closer, I see a well-fitted vest over a light shirt, paired with a patterned tie, giving the ensemble a refined, aristocratic touch. My eyes finally settle on the clean white trousers and dark polished shoes, completing a look that feels dignified, composed, and effortlessly sophisticated. I couldn't help but stare at the outfit. Master, all the clothes here are from Upper Moon Quarters, but they are not suitable for your old style. These are from Lord Muzin's personal collection and looked similar to your previous attire. I stood up, towel already wrapped around my waist. Damn, I didn't know Muzin was a fashionista. Oh well, I guess I'll have to thank him if we ever meet. The Demon King had taste, I'd give him that. The suit looked expensive, well tailored, the kind that screamed wealth, and deliberately being obnoxious about it. After I dried off and got dressed, the suit fit perfectly, which was weird but I wasn't complaining. I returned to the master bedroom. Nakame, are there any Nichiren blades here? Or Muzin's blood? I asked with reluctant hope. She shook her head, her long dark hair swaying slightly. Unfortunately, after a thorough search while finding your clothes, I only found mundane items such as clothing, footwear, furnishings, etc. All weapons, tools, even the gold and money we had stored in our treasury has disappeared from the castle. Please tell them there's something to eat and drink, as I felt my stomach protest for food after I burned its energy to generate the blade. Forgive me, master. Since this castle was used to house demons, there used to be a storage of human body and blood, but that too has disappeared. I nodded. Made sense. The gacha wouldn't just let me fleece everything Muzin had accumulated over 1,000 years by pulling Nakame as my familiar. That would be too easy and broken. At least the mundane items and facilities still worked. Nakame, could you tell me about your abilities in detail? I asked as I sat on the black sofa. Nakame bowed and began explaining. I can freely manipulate the infinite expanse of this castle, rearrange rooms, change layouts and even create pathways. I can open portals in the shape of tatami gates anywhere my eye sees, though for now that's limited to within the Infinity Castle itself. I once could deploy lower demons from the barracks to overwhelm enemies with numbers, but seeing as there are none here, I cannot help you with an army anymore. Forgive me, master. No worries, I said. An army would have been nice, but honestly, the spatial manipulation alone was incredible. Mobile fortress, instant escape routes, home base that was literally unreachable unless I let someone in. I was more than satisfied. She continued. I also possess detection abilities. In my former service, I could track demon slayers through my detached eyeball familiars, gather information across Japan. The range was limited to where Lord Muzin allowed me to place my eyes, but within those areas, nothing escaped my sight. Information gathering combined with her portal abilities, she was basically a one-woman intelligence network. I was really glad I'd pulled her before entering this universe. Nakame, I need to explain something to you, I said seriously. I have a curse, a severe curse called mortal enemy. The moment I fully awakened in this world, someone of strength greater than yours would be imbued with absolute hatred toward me. They're going to hunt me down and won't stop until I'm dead. The only way to break the curse is to kill or neutralize them. Her single eye widened slightly, the most emotion I'd seen from her so far. I also need to explain the world we're in. It's called the Invincible Verse, and it's full of superheroes and supervillains, beings of powers equal or greater than Muzen even. But more importantly, there's a race called Viltrumites, alien conquerors who can fly, have super strength, super speed, and can punch through planets. One of them, Omni-Man, is pretending to be a hero while planning to conquer Earth for his empire. Things are going to escalate. Violence, death and planetary threats. But our job isn't to stop it or stay away from it. I grinned, teeth and gums exposed in all their maniacal glory. Our job is to bring more chaos, grow stronger, and most importantly gamble. That's our top priority. The gacha is how we survive and get powerful enough to deal with whatever's coming. Nakame looked surprised for a moment, probably not what she expected from a master, but she nodded. I understand, master. I shall serve you in this endeavor. Good. Now, I need you to open a portal to a secluded space. Somewhere we can scout and get our bearings. She picked her biwa, but hesitated. Master, given this constitutes an entirely unfamiliar world, I haven't had the opportunity to explore and mark key locations. This first portal would be purely random, based on chance. Please, let me be the scout first. If there's danger. I appreciate you worrying about me, I said, patting her shoulder. The gesture made her eye widen, probably not used to casual contact from her master. But I'm not completely powerless. I put my minimap ability in one of my slot as a virtual map appeared in the corner of my V-zone. It showed the layout of all the places I've been inside the Infinity Castle, my room, the bath, even the hallway, even to the last inch. With me being represented by blue dot and Nakame represented in green. Nakame, open the gate. She plucked her biwa, and a tatami door appeared, sliding open to reveal complete darkness. I walked toward the portal. Remain back, I told Nakame. Be ready to pull me back at the first sign of something going wrong. She nodded, biwa at the ready, her eye locked on me. I stepped through the tatami door and felt metal beneath my feet. The air was different here, recycled and climate controlled, the kind of air you get in secure facilities. I was in a dark space, couldn't see much, but my minimap was filling in the details. It showed me the circular room I was in, its multiple entry points and electronics mounted on walls, ceiling. Security systems, probably littered with cameras and sensors. This wasn't some random location. Image here, and then I saw movement on my minimap as multiple yellow points came into the map's range. They were neutral, at least as I could see from the yellow color, but it could soon turn red at a moment's notice. Before I could even command Nakame to pull me back, the bright lights suddenly turned on, flooding the entire space with harsh fluorescent glare. And I froze like a deer caught in headlights. I saw people emerging from the shadows and stepping into the light one by one. After my brain caught up with what my eyes were seeing. And I recognized them, the Guardians of the Globe. War Woman in her red and gold armor, the power of Zeus crackling around her mace. Darkwing in his black suit with the cape, that Batman-esque aesthetic was quite apparent. Red Rush in his red speedster costume, already vibrating with impatience. Aquarius in his blue scaled armor, looking distinctly uncomfortable under the harsh light. And standing in the center, arms crossed, was their leader, Immortal, looking directly at me with suspicion. My brain finally caught up with my situation. I was in the Guardians of the Globe headquarters. Oops, wrong base. I'll show myself out, I said eloquently. 17 comments, 0 vote. Holy fucking cow. Oops, wrong base. I'll just show myself out. I tried to turn around and get Nakame to open a portal before this got any worse, but Martian Man's arms stretched like taffy and wrapped around my waist, locking me in place like some elastic prison. Fuck. Gray alien motherfucker had to grope me. Now I can't risk Nakame opening a portal or this bastard comes along for the ride. I wanted to keep Nakame in her pocket dimension hidden. My one near infinite safe space, my trump card, and I'd almost blown it in the first 5 minutes of being in this universe. Then a notification appeared. Feat achieved. Infiltrate Guardians of the Globe base through dumb luck. Reward. +1 gold random gacha ticket. Well, that's nice, I thought, and honestly, that notification did more to calm my internal panic than anything else. At least I was getting rewarded for almost dying. The heroes rounded around me, the same heroes I'd only seen in the first episode of the show before they got brutally slaughtered. But standing here, surrounded by them, I realized they weren't just animated characters anymore. They were real, top-tier heroes of this world, and I was some asshole who'd portaled into their secret base. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Every hero had shifted into combat stance without even thinking about it. It was clear this wasn't their first rodeo. Aquarius stayed back near the wall, looking distinctly uncomfortable being this far from water. His blue scales caught the light, and I could see the webbing between his fingers flexing nervously. The immortal stood front and center, arms crossed, that shitating grim expression on his face like he'd seen this song and dance 1,000 times before. Probably had, considering he was thousands of years old. War Woman had her mace ready, the mystical weapon crackling with Zeus's power. I remembered from the wiki that she was basically Wonder Woman with a mace instead of a lasso. Darkwing pulled out what looked like a scanner with a holographic screen and started scanning me. Batman knockoff with copy of his tech to the boot. Red Rush just fidgeted around me, vibrating with barely contained energy, moving too fast for me to track even as I mentally slotted Impulse into my second ability slot. The Russian speedster was a blur of red. Green Ghost 2 floated above us, keeping watch from her aerial position. Brittany, was it, the new one who'd gotten her powers from swallowing an amulet? Darkwing's device beeped red. Results are negative, he announced, his voice gravelly like he'd been smoking since he was a teenager. He's not in any record on the entire planet. No birth certificate, social security, passport, not even in the underworld records. Red Rush suddenly blurred, and the next second he was back, standing still for maybe half a heartbeat. Just frisked him, nothing on him except an expensive suit that looks like he stole it off a runway. No weapons or even ID. Hey, that's sexual harassment. I showed my displease. War Woman actually chuckled. Now, he could have been the model from the looks of it. The immortal raised his voice, cutting through the banter. Focus, War Woman, we have an unknown individual in our base without tripping a single alarm. Not to mention the signal Darkwing sent us all. Darkwing looked shocked. I wasn't the one who sent the signal. I thought you did, Immortal. Suppressed panic flooded through them. I could see it in their body language, the sudden tension and the way they shifted into defensive positions. The assembled heroes each held the same bewildered expression, which had begun to twist worse with their rising panic. It was the kind of look you'd see on someone who was on a winning streak, and now were suddenly dealt the worst cards. And I knew exactly what was happening. This was the setup from Omni-Man. The moment before everything went to hell. Yeah, fuck this, I muttered, remembering this was the pilot episode where these heroes got butchered by a single Viltrumite. I needed an edge, anything before Omni-Man showed up and turned this room into a slaughterhouse. So I tore my gold ticket mentally. The gacha spun was music to my ears. No enemies, elite trait, you really don't, everyone you meet has a good impression of you, even evil dictators, violent murderers or mindless beasts have a decent liking of you as soon as they get to know about you. Only works on named characters. The moment the trait activated, I felt it. Like a switch flipping in reality itself. Alright, now this I can use. Hey you, yeah, you discount Justice League. Fucking listen to me. They all stopped mid-discussion and centered their focus on me. The weight of their collective attention hit like a physical force. The Immortal's voice boomed. Was it you who sent the sig? Shut up and listen to me, Lincoln. I yelled to cut him off. We don't have time for your fucking ego trip. Someone is coming to kill all of you, and now I'm an accidental sacrificial lamb. I expected resistance, expected them to threaten me to shut up and call me crazy. But they were silent. War Woman spoke first, her voice urgent. What are you waiting for? Who threatens us? Quickly. Holy shit, this trait is too OP, I thought. They actually believed I wasn't a threat and wanted to hear me out. Like I hadn't randomly teleported into their hideout with their detection tech being none the wiser. Nolan Grayson, I said quickly, he's the one who sent the signal to bring you all to one place. Omni-Man is. Green Ghost 2 was the first to argue. That's impossible. Omni-Man has served Earth for nearly 20 years. He's saved thousands of lives. Right, she was a new hero who grew up watching Omni-Man's heroics on TV. Of course, she wouldn't believe a stranger. The others joined in her defense. Even the Immortal, who I knew wasn't Omni-Man's biggest fan, had fought alongside him too many times to believe this easily. This is a trap, the Immortal declared, pointing at me. He's trying to divide us. But Darkwing was silent between the chatter, his detective mind working. It doesn't matter who sent the signal now. Our priority is vigilance. Cecil needs to know about this breach. As he pressed a button on his device, my minimap lit up with a single massive red dot traveling at breakneck speed, heading directly for this room. My blood turned to ice. Fuck. Hey, Martian, let go of me. He's here, he's. Before I could finish, the world exploded. The wall detonated inward as concrete and steel turned to shrapnel that filled the air like bullets. The shockwave hit me like a physical thing, lifting me off my feet. I slammed into the wall with Martian Man coming along for the ride because he was still holding me. The impact knocked the wind out of my lungs, and for a second, I couldn't breathe or see. When my vision cleared, I saw Red Rush was a blur, running around the room at speed I couldn't hope to track, shifting the Guardians' positions, pushing them out of the way of attacks I couldn't even see yet. And then there he was. In red and white costume, with that iconic mustache and gray temples. A spitting image of J.K. Simmons but younger, buffer, and one mean-looking motherfucker. Omni-Man, Nolan Grayson, image here, the Viltrumit who was about to murder every single person in this room. Including me, seeing as he wouldn't want any witnesses. But to my surprise, none of the Guardians were dead yet. They were dodging, fighting back, coordinating. My warning had given them a split-second advantage, just enough to not be completely blindsided. Martian Man unwrapped his arm from around me and joined the fight, his body stretching and morphing as he tried to restrain Omni-Man. Fuck this, I need to get out. I activated Impulse, feeling my neurons fire faster and my perception sharpening. The world slowed down just enough to see Red Rush moving in bursts instead of being completely invisible and roughly track Omni-Man's movements as he deflected War Woman's mace. I begin ordering in my mind, Nakame. Extract me before. Suddenly, I saw Omni-Man's eyes focus on me as I saw curiosity and unintended focus in them. Even after he was being strangled by the sudden attack from Martian Man, his eyes still followed my movements. It wasn't until Green Ghost's surprise liver punch that he finally let go of his focus on me and shifted it toward the Guardians. Finally, that predator took his eyes off me. I sighed in momentary relief. Now, Nakame to open the gate and take me out of here. I heard the biwa pluck, the floor beneath me shifting to materialize my only way out. But because my luck is damn abysmal, Nolan immediately caught sight of me. I watched the Martian be flung directly at me with the aided assist of Impulse. Fuck, I screamed, scrambling away as the half-materialized portal dissipated below me. Ghost arrived in the nick of time to save her mentor from certain death or serious injury. Shit, Omni-Man and most of the Guardians had superspeed. If I opened a portal behind me, they could follow me in, find the Infinity Castle, and compromise my only safe space. Fuck that, I need to find an opportunity. I can't just recklessly give them access to my safe haven. I mentally swapped minimap out of one ability slot and put Call to Arms in. RNGesus, please bless your child for just one more. My lord, please. I pulled from the newly upgraded silver pool. Silver light materialized in front of me, and my new familiar appeared. Holy cow, common familiar. Holy cow, is a holy cow, quite literally, a large, healthy female cow that always lactates and can be milked for 10 and up to 50 liters of milk per day, depending on how well fed she is. Thanks to her holy origins, the milk she produces is truly extraordinary, having great health benefits, nutrient-dense, and of incredible quality compared to mundane milk. It can also function as low-quality holy water against unholy. Any children she has will mostly inherit her incredible genes and holy blessing. I stared at the thing my summon just spawned. A cow, not some ancient beast, not even a celestial spirit. Just a plain, slack-eyed cow standing there like she had all the time in the world, dressed in ridiculous ceremonial garb. A stiff white cloth draped over her back, a tall yet absurd hat perched between her ears like a mockery of a priest's mitre, and two long red sashes hanging from its neck. The animal just blinked at me slowly, chewing cud. Holy fucking cow, 27 comments 0 vote. Wrong place, wrong massacre. Holy fucking cow, I said out loud. That RNGesus bastard must be rolling in laughter right now. But I wasn't the only one in shock. The entire fight stopped for a single moment. Every single combatant froze mid-motion, Omni-Man included, stopped. For one perfect, absurd moment, the massacre paused because nobody knew what to make of the blessed bovine that had just materialized in the middle of their battle. Then they went right back to fighting. War Woman was the first to resume attack, centuries of warrior instinct overriding confusion. Her mace crackling with divine lightning as she swung at Omniman's chest. The impact sent him stumbling back, and I heard something crack ribs, maybe. The mace left a scorched imprint on his costume, and underneath I could see skin already bruising purple. Red rush became a crimson blur again. Each punch hit Omniman's chest with the force of a sledgehammer, thousands of impacts per second, the sound like a machine gun. Fabric from the sheer speed and repetition added up. Omniman's chest was covered in burn marks, the fabric of his suit disintegrating under the assault. Darkwing pulled devices from his utility belt and hurled them in precise arcs. The explosives detonated against Omniman's back, with enough force to crack the floor beneath him. But it was useless. Finally, Aquarius raised both hands and sent a torrent of high-pressure water with enough force behind it to cut steel. I tried to use Call to Arms again to summon anything useful. But the ability was on cooldown for 24 hours. I was stuck with a holy cow. Before I could even process what to do, Omni-Man appeared in front of me suddenly. He grabbed my cow by the horn, turned it around, and used it as a shield against Aquarius's water torrent. No, my holy cow. It might have been useless, but it was still my cow. Not to mention the blasphemy Nolan just committed, using a blessed animal as a meat shield. The high-pressure water tore through the animal like tissue paper. I watched in horror as the holy cow was shredded in seconds, as the water pressure was so intense it turned the poor thing into chunky salsa. Blood and meat chunks splattered everywhere, some even sticking to my expensive stolen suit. The water below us turned thick crimson. My stomach lurched. Bile rose in my throat. I'd seen death, but that was my own. Watching an innocent animal torn apart because I'd summoned it into a war zone made me want to vomit. Then I felt angry. The 5-minute cooldown for switching abilities started ticking. So, I switched out Impulse and slotted in Blademaster. I poured whatever calories I had left into creating a silver energy sword with its blade as thin as possible. Huh, looks like those forced fencing lessons would come in handy after all, dear father, I muttered, remembering the expensive tutors my family had hired. Omni-Man was turned away from me, focused on the Guardians. Seeing my chance, I thrust my silver sword toward his back. He suddenly turned, threw the holy cow's carcass aside, grabbed my neck in one hand and lifted me off the ground, choking me before I even realized what was happening. I couldn't breathe. His grip was like an iron vice, crushing my windpipe. My hands clawed at his fingers uselessly. Omni-Man looked me in the eyes with absolute hatred. Irrational and all-consuming hatred. His face covered in cow blood and worse. Oh fuck. The curse had chosen him. Omni-Man, a royal Viltrumite who I just happened to have come across on day fucking 1 of being in this verse. Thank you RNGesus. Thank you so very much. And it just had imbued him with absolute hatred toward me specifically. Who are you, Bug? Was it you who alerted them? I've never wanted to kill anyone more in my entire life. His voice was raw yet clinical. He was asking the same way you'd ask someone for directions. The disconnect between the casual tone and the fact that he was actively strangling me made it worse somehow. Before he could continue, War Woman's mace struck him from behind, the divine weapon connecting with his skull and snapping his neck to the side hard enough that I heard something crack. In that single moment, that split second when his grip loosened from the shock, I poured all the energy I had and more into lengthening and sharpening my blade. The silver energy extended rapidly towards his bruised chest, where I heard his ribs crack, and to both our surprise, it actually cut through the Viltrumite's skin. His blood finally trickled, not a lot mind you, just a thin red line. But I made him bleed. Get off me, you trash author. I screamed as he threw me with more than enough force to decorate the walls with my insides. Green Ghost swept in and grabbed me, turning us both intangible to negate the damage, as Darkwing used the distraction to throw more bombs. My blade dispersed as soon as my energy depleted, but the damage was done. I'd actually wounded Omni-Man. Not much, just a cut along his ribs, but it was bleeding. He looked down at his side. Saw his blood for probably the first time in decades, maybe centuries, that was rare even for him, and rage finally flooded his features. Green Ghost was keeping us intangible, but I knew she couldn't maintain it indefinitely. The ability had limits. Omni-Man saw that I was protected and turned his attention to the Immortal instead. And that's when the real massacre began. He flew at the Immortal faster than I could track, the sonic boom alone shattering nearby equipment. The ancient warrior tried to block and deflect, but Omni-Man grabbed him mid-punch and did a devastating, Superman punch, directly through the Immortal's torso. I heard bones break, organs rupture, and the wet crunch of a body breaking. The immortal's eyes widen in shock. Then Omni-Man pulled his arm sideways through the body, bisecting the man in from sternum to spine. The immortal's top half fell one way. His legs fell another. And the worst part, the poor man was still alive. Omni-Man picked up the immortal's top half and threw it like a baseball directly at Aquarius. The king of Atlantis didn't have time to dodge. The supersonic impact of the immortal's corpse against Aquarius, the collision transferring enough kinetic energy to turn the Atlantean into red smear against the wall. Second fatality. Green Ghost saw this and screamed. She let go of me to try and save her teammates, and the moment I became tangible again, I stumbled and fell facefirst onto the metallic floor. I'd burned every single calorie in my body constructing and extending that blade. My body was running on empty. Not to mention being dirty and covered in blood slowed down my recovery. My vision was blurry mess of colors and shapes, and when I reached up to adjust my glasses, I realized they'd shattered when I hit the floor. Great. Now I was half-blind, exhausted, and in the middle of a slaughter. I could still make out the large mass of red and white flying around. Could still see sprays of blood flying through the air as Omni-Man systematically dismantled Earth's greatest heroes. Just shapes and sounds and the overwhelming copper smell of blood. He turned toward me as I saw the red and white blur shift direction and felt the weight of his attention pressing on me. "Fuck you," he said, his voice rough and breathing shallow, a fucking human cut through Viltrumit's skin. "Do you understand how humiliating that is?" I tried to summon the energy to run, to do something, but my body was empty. I'd burned everything on that one attack. "I'm going to pull your spine out through your throat," he said. Slowly, very slowly, as I savor it more than anything I've ever done. He was moving slower. The fight had fucked him up more than he wanted to admit. "Nakame," I thought desperately. "Open a gate, now." I saw the tatami door begin to materialize below me, wood grain forming from nothing as I heard the biwa string start to pluck. Omniman's eyes locked onto it. He broke into a run. Then flight, moving toward me faster than I could follow. "Nakame. Trap," I screamed. Another tatami gate opened between Omni-Man and me just as he was fingers along the way. And Omni-Man, so consumed by curse-driven hatred that he couldn't think straight, so exhausted his judgment was completely out the window, couldn't and wouldn't even think about slowing himself because he was so absolutely obsessed with killing me that nothing else mattered, flew straight through. Into my infinity castle, into my safe space. No, 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 no. I gave Nakame mental orders as fast as I could think them. Rearrange the castle into an infinite maze. Change it to hold extremely strong and extremely fast enemy. Hold him off as long as you can. Prioritize your safety. Don't let him find. The final thing I heard was a ding. As I passed out from exhaustion. 20 comments 0 vote. Aftermath. Nakim's Pav. My hands were shaking as I plucked the biwa strings. I couldn't make them stop trembling no matter how much I wanted. I'd served Muzan Kibutsuji for centuries. Watched him slaughter entire families. Seen upper-rank demons tear through Demon Slayer core members like they were made of paper. Witnessed Muzan himself in rage so terrible it made the air itself feel like it was burning. This was worse, far worse. The thing in red and white tearing through my infinity castle. It was a force of nature wearing human skin, and even that skin was barely holding together after what Master and those heroes had done to it. His life energy dwarfed anything I'd ever sensed. Lord Muzan, at his peak, was a candle beside this monster's bonfire. In the raw physical prowess of his speed and strength, he was destroying halls faster than I could rearrange them, smashing through walls I'd reinforced with my blood demon art like they were made of rice paper. I plucked the biwa again, shifting an entire corridor into a pit that dropped into nowhere. The monster fell for maybe 3 seconds before he just flew back up, covered in dust and blood and absolutely consumed with rage. "Image here, where are you, bug?" His voice screamed into the infinite castle. His voice echoed through dimensions. "I'll tear this entire building apart. I'll find you. I'll rip your tongue out." I shifted him 300 miles away mid-sentence, warping space so he ended up in an entirely different section of the castle. It bought me maybe 30 seconds before he resumed tearing through walls again. My single eye tracked his movements through the castle's spatial awareness. He was coughing blood. The shallow wound Master had given him still bled down his side, refusing to close. That woman's divine mace had cracked multiple ribs of his, as I could see the way he favored his left side. Not to mention, friction burns that covered his entire chest in angry purple bruises that looked almost black. He was injured, weakened and slower than he'd been at the start. Yet, slower, for this monster still outpaced even upper rank 1 at full sprint. And his senses were sharper than Kokushibo's. Every time I opened a portal to redirect him, he'd sense the dimensional shift before it fully formed. Every trap I constructed, he'd either avoid through instinct or just smash through with brute force. The only thing keeping him from finding me was the infinite nature of the castle itself. I could keep rearranging, keep shifting, keep him chasing shadows forever. Theoretically, but in practice, I had another problem. I was hungry, my face heated with shame even as I plucked the biwa to shift another section of castle between us. Demons didn't blush, but if we could, I would be. I hadn't eaten since Master summoned me. In maintaining this level of spatial manipulation, constantly warping an infinite fortress while what was it that Master called him, a Viltru? Yeah, a Viltrumid tore through it, burning through energy I didn't have. My stomach cramped, the demon hunger, that terrible gnawing need that had driven me to cannibalism in my previous life, was starting to claw at my concentration. But I couldn't leave to hunt, couldn't risk opening a portal to the real world while this monster was hunting, because he'd sense it, follow, and find Master. Master was still unconscious in that massacre hall. I could see him through my detached eyeball that remained in the real world, watching over his knocked-out body surrounded by corpses and blood. I could take him back here to safety, pull him into the Infinity Castle, where I can protect him properly, while he heals. But doing that while the Viltrumid was actively hunting would expose Master. The monster would sense the portal opening and then nothing would stop him. The curse binding them together made the monster hypersensitive to Master's presence. I'd rather die again than lead this thing to my Master. At least if the monster killed me, he'd be trapped here forever. The Infinity Castle was bound to my existence. If I died, it would collapse into dimensional void, taking everything inside with it. Including him. Master would be safe in the real world, and this monster would be banished to nowhere forever. But I didn't want to die. I'd already died once, and given a choice between oblivion and service, I chose service, chose Master. And I would serve him properly, which meant surviving this and solving my hunger problem before it became critical. I plucked the biwa, opening the smallest door I could manage, just barely large enough to poke my hand through into the real world. The portal appeared in that massacre room, in the far corner where Master lay unconscious. My hand reached through, fingers closing around something cold and wet. The upper half of that hero in blue. The immortal, they'd called him. His severed head stared at nothing, eyes glazed, mouth frozen in whatever last word he'd tried to speak before the monster had decapitated him. Even by demon standards, this was disturbing. We ate humans, yes, but we didn't usually take trophies like this. I pulled the corpse through quickly, sealing the portal before the monster could hear my biwa's pluck. The immortal's torso felt strange in my hands. Still warm. I could ration it, make it sustain me for days, maybe weeks if I was careful. I took a small bite, just enough to quiet the hunger, and felt strength return to my limbs. I heard the monster roar somewhere 3 sections away, smashing through another wall. I plucked the biwa and shifted him 500 miles in the opposite direction. This was going to be a long night. Guardians of the Globe HQ. The pneumatic doors hissed open. Agent Marcus Roth, the first GDA agent through the entrance, immediately threw up in his helmet. Senior Agent Vasquez behind him couldn't really blame the kid. The room was a slaughterhouse. Blood had flowed its way everywhere. The walls were covered in it, the floor slick with it, even the ceiling dripping with it, imitating a grotesque art installation. Bodies. Or pieces of bodies. Or what used to be bodies before something terrifyingly strong had torn them apart. Image here. Sweet Jesus Christ, one of the paramedics whispered, his voice barely audible through his respirator. Agent Vasquez's GDA team had gotten the alert 17 minutes ago. Emergency beacon from the Guardians of the Globe headquarters, every alarm screaming priority 1, and then complete radio silence. They'd expected bad, but not this. Aquarius was paced against the far wall. Like someone had flung him at such speeds that the impact had just liquefied him. Blue scales mixed with red pulp, and there was a man-shaped impact crater in the reinforced steel that should have withstood tank rounds. Darkwing lay in another crater, his back bent at an angle that would have been impossible if his spine hadn't snapped in multiple places. His utility belt was still beeping, some gadget still trying to deploy even though its owner was gone. Green Ghost 2 had a fist-sized hole through her stomach, clean through. Guts and bile visible, and her signature jade glow extinguished completely. Martian Man was in pieces scattered across the room. Gray chunks of alien flesh, some still twitching as his elastic body tried to pull itself back together through sheer biological stubbornness. War Woman's neck was broken, head lolling sideways. Her divine mace lay 3 feet away, still crackling with residual divine energy. Red Rush's legs were crushed flat. Bone protruded from one leg. His fists were burned down to bone, flesh completely seared off from the friction. And right there in the center of the massacre was the immortal or parts of him. His legs near the entrance. His upper body missing. "Sir," one agent called out, voice shaking. "The immortal's torso is gone. Someone must have taken it." The senior agent processed that information. Someone had taken half a corpse. Why? Trophy. Evidence. Some sick fuck's idea of a souvenir. Then he heard it. Wait, this one's breathing. Head snapped toward the paramedic crouched over Red Rush's broken body. What? He's alive. Barely, but alive. Get me a stabilizer, now. Another paramedic scrambled over. War Woman 2. She's got a pulse. Green Ghost is breathing. Darkwing's spine is shattered, but his breathing is stable. Martian Man's core is intact. He's already regenerating. Hope surged through the room like electricity, cutting through the horror. They were alive. Barely hanging by a thread, but alive. But 5 survivors was a miracle in itself. Cecil Stedman. I stood in the GDA war room staring at the live feed from the Guardians' headquarters, and I felt something I hadn't felt since the terrorist attack that melted half my face off. Absolute helplessness. 7 heroes. Earth's premier superhero team. The people who'd saved the world a dozen times over. Dead in their own headquarters. My fist slammed against the tactical table hard enough to make the holographic displays flicker. The impact sent pain shooting up my arm, but I barely felt it through the artificial skin. "I've never seen anything like this," I said, my voice coming out rougher than intended. The scar tissue on my jaw burned. Donald stood beside me, face pale but professional. Kid had seen some shit working for the GDA, but this was testing even his limits. "Sir, preliminary analysis indicates." "Sir." An agent's voice cut through the war room like a gunshot. "Red Rush is still breathing." My head snapped up so fast my neck cracked. "What?" "War Woman 2. She's alive. Green Ghost has a pulse. Darkwing's breathing is stable. Martian Man's core is intact. 5 survivors. 5 miracles. Get them to OR stat." I roared, my voice carrying across every comm channel. "I want every doctor we have, every piece of medical equipment, everything focused on stabilizing them. Move your asses." The feed showed paramedics swarming the bod, survivors deploying emergency medical tech, stabilizing vitals and preparing for emergency transport. In a situation that should have been 7 funerals, we might only have 2. Still too many. "Sir," another agent approached, younger, nervous. "You need to see this." I followed his gesture to the feed, focusing on the far corner of the massacre room. There, half hidden in shadows and blood, was another body. The body was in a white suit with an expensive-looking overcoat that was almost a cape. And most importantly, a fedora covering the face. "Who the hell is that?" I demanded. The agents on scene moved carefully, one of them removing the fedora with gloved hands. A kid, couldn't be more than 18, maybe 19. Blonde hair with Caucasian features. But more interestingly, his injuries were a joke compared to everyone else in that room. A few flesh wounds that looked painful but survivable. Bruising around his throat with purple marks clearly showed fingers, as if someone had tried to strangle him. But compared to the Guardians, this kid looked like he'd gotten into a bar fight, not a superhuman massacre. The discrepancy was screaming at me. "What are you all standing around for?" Donald snapped at the agents on feed. "Get him medical attention, now." 11 comments 0 vote. "You're a star, kid. Get him medical attention, now." The agent scrambled, but I just watched the kid's face, my brain already running through scenarios. An unknown individual in one of the most secure facilities on Earth. In the middle of a massacre, but barely touched. Why was he there? And most importantly, why was he left alive with just minor injuries? "Sir, preliminary scans are here." Another agent, this one holding a tablet. "Genetic material analysis is complete." I grabbed the tablet, scanning the results. Blood samples from the room, DNA analysis, cross-referenced against known databases. Most of it matched. The Guardians, blood types, genetic markers, all accounted for. The chaos of the fight had splattered everyone's DNA across the entire room. But there were 3 samples that didn't match the known guardians. One was obviously the unknown kid. Human DNA with no abnormalities, nothing special beyond being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Second was that of a cow. But the final sample made my blood run cold. Viltrumite genetic markers. Comparing from the databank, it matched Nolan Grayson's blood. Omni-Man had been in that room. And there was a lot of his blood. Enough blood to indicate serious injury to the Omni-Man. But there was no body to be found. No Omni-Man among the dead are survivors. Donald, I said quietly, my voice cutting through the organized chaos of the war room. Give me a timeline, everything we know. Donald pulled up data, his fingers moving efficiently across the tablet. Distress signal was triggered at 0347 hours from Darkwing's personal beacon. Guardians responded within a few minutes. Internal logs show they assembled in the conference room at 0400 hours. We lost all internal feeds at that exact moment as every sensor in their HQ went dark simultaneously. That suggested someone deliberately cut the feeds, not damage from a fight. Yes, sir. External sensors detected massive kinetic impacts consistent with superhuman combat. The fight lasted approximately 4 minutes based on seismic sensors in the surrounding area. And Omni-Man, Donald's expression tightened. Last confirmed sighting was 2 hours before the signal. He was in Chicago dealing with a Flaxen incursion publicly witnessed by hundreds of civilians. GDA tracking had him returning to his house at 0320 hours. 27 minutes before the signal. Plenty of time for Omni-Man to fly back into. So he could have gotten there, I said. Sir, are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything. I cut him off, my voice hard. But Omni-Man's blood is all over that room. The Guardians are barely alive. And one unknown kid with minimal injuries is lying in the corner. I turned back to the feed, watching medics load the kid onto a stretcher, oxygen mask being placed over his face. Something didn't add up. Omni-Man was Earth's strongest hero. Had fought apocalyptic threats, alien invasions, and interdimensional conquerors. I don't want to admit it, but if he'd wanted the Guardians dead, they'd all be dead. But 5 had survived. Barely, but survived. And this kid was comparatively unscathed. Run full analysis on the unknown, I ordered. DNA, fingerprints, dental records, everything. Check global databases, Interpol, Mossad, Michigan 6, CIA, FSB. I want every intelligence agency's records cross-referenced. Find out who he is, where he came from, and why the hell he was in that room. And most importantly, get me the scans on those finger bruises on the kid's throat and scan them for matches. And Omni-Man, I lit a cigarette, ignoring the way the artificial skin on my hand didn't register heat anymore. Put a surveillance team on him and his family and keep it discreet. I want eyes on Nolan Grayson 24/7. If he so much as takes a shit wrong, I want to know about it. Sir, keep it quiet. If Omni-Man really did this. I took a drag, exhaling smoke through what was left of my real lungs. Then we've got exactly 0 options for stopping him if he decides to finish what he started. The last thing we need is to spook the world's strongest hero into going full supervillain because he thinks we're onto him. Donald's face went pale. Sir, if he's compromised, what do? We smile, we nod, we act like nothing's wrong, and we pray to whatever God is listening that we can figure out a way to stop a Viltrumite before he decides Earth is more trouble than it's worth. I stubbed out the cigarette. And we figure out what that kid knows. Because if he was in that room during the fight and survived, he saw something, and I need to know what. The war room fell silent except for the quiet beeping of medical monitors in the feed. John's POV, I was once again floating in darkness. It was peaceful and quiet. Then I heard it. Ding 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 ding. The sound of a slot machine hitting jackpot, echoing through infinite nothing. Oh no, John, my boy, my lucky charm. My absolute favorite disaster. RNGesus' voice exploded through the void like a game show host on cocaine, coming from everywhere at once. They love you, all of them. The betting pool just exploded. You're a star, kid. As quickly as he appeared, RNGesus and his joyful energy faded away. I finally opened my eyes. Light flooded in, way too bright, and everything was a blurry mess. Just shapes and colors bleeding together like someone had smeared Vaseline across my vision. That should bode well, I muttered, my voice coming out hoarse. I tried to rub my eyes, but my hands wouldn't move right. Something was wrong with my arms. I looked down or tried to, as everything was still swimming in and out of focus, and saw metal. Thick metal cuffs completely encase my hands like oversized boxing gloves, both wrists chained together with maybe 6 inches of slack between them. I pulled at the chains, only for them to rattle and not budge. Yeah, these are real, all right, I said to nobody, cause why wouldn't I wake up in restraints? That's exactly how I want to start my day. My brain was still catching up. Where was I? Then the memories hit like a freight train. The fight. Oh God, the fight. The Guardians of the Globe getting systematically dismantled by Omni-Man. The Immortal was literally ripped in half, and Aquarius turned into paste against a wall. Nakim's trap. Omni-Man flying through it at full speed. Into my Infinity Castle, my safe haven. Oh fuck. Nakame. I thought desperately, reaching for our mental connection with everything I had. Nakame, are you there? Are you alright? Did he please tell me he didn't? Relief crashed through me when I felt her response. This one is here to serve you, master. Her mental voice sounded exhausted, strained, like she was trying to speak while running a marathon. As for my condition, what? Are you hurt? Where's Omni-Man? Did he find you? Did he? This one is unharmed, master. The Omni-Man you fought is heavily injured and severely weakened, but he is still destroying the castle as we speak. Tearing through my domain, smashing walls, all while cursing your name. He is persistent. Persistent. Right, that was one way to describe a curse-driven Viltrumite with a pathological need to kill me. As for my condition, this one apologizes, but I took a portion of the corpse of one of those heroes who fought alongside you against that monster. I blinked, trying to process that. Wait, what? Which one? The one in blue garb. The decapitated one. Oh, I thought about that. Oh, the Immortal. Nakame, that's fine. Actually, you can take more if you need it. That guy's not called Immortal for nothing. At worst, we'll get the Mahler twins to create a clone of his body. There was a pause of relief in our mental connection. Master, this one must report something unusual. This, Immortal's, corpse is extremely beneficial to me. Every time my body digests his flesh's life force, it regenerates the energy, providing sustenance again. I have been observing this phenomenon for the past day, and I believe this has effectively cured me of my accursed hunger for human flesh. I sat up straighter, or tried to, before the chains stopped me. Wait, seriously, you're not hungry anymore? Not in the way I was before. The regenerating life force provides infinite sustenance. As long as I have access to this corpse, I will never hunger again. Nakame, that's amazing. That means you don't have to worry about. Ah. Her mental scream cut through our connection sharply, and I felt her terror spike through the link. What happened? I shouted out loud. I could hear her panting, feel her shock radiating through our bond. Master, it seems the monster heard me speaking, even across the infinite distances of the castle. He nearly caught me blind, if not got my biwa already taunt that I managed to redirect him several miles away. My blood ran cold. Fuck, I must concentrate now, master. Keeping this monster imprisoned requires my full attention. I will contact you only in emergencies. Please, survive. And the connection went quiet. I sat there in my restraints, vision blurry, head pounding, and tried to process the absolute clusterfuck my life had become. The mortal enemy curse had chosen Omni-Man, cause of course it had. And now said psychopath was trapped in my pocket dimension, hunting Nakame, destroying my only safe space, driven by curse-enhanced hatred to find me and literally give me the most tortuous death imaginable. On the other hand, my mind went somewhere darker. I could let Omni-Man kill her. After her death, the Infinity Castle would collapse, trapping him in a dimensi. My hand moved before I consciously decided to do it, slamming my forehead against the metal restraints. Bonk. Pain exploded across my skull sharply, and I felt warm blood start trickling down from my already injured forehead to mix with the dried blood from earlier. Fuck, I hissed through gritted teeth. The fuck am I even thinking? I promised myself I wouldn't be anything like father. Wouldn't treat family like disposable assets in some grand strategy. Nakame was mine, my familiar, my responsibility. She'd already saved my skin twice. And she was right now fighting to keep him contained while I sat here useless and chained. I'd find another way. Then notifications started appearing in my vision, cutting through the blur. Feat achieved. First combat experience. Reward. +1 bronze random gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Draw first blood on a Viltrumite. Reward. +1 platinum random gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Witness your first murder. Reward. +1 silver random gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Trap a Viltrumite in your pocket dimension. Reward. +1 diamond random gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Alter a cannon massacre. Reward. +1 platinum random gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Survive direct combat with your mortal enemy. Reward. +1 gold random gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Solve your familiar's accused hunger. Reward. +1 silver bronze random gacha ticket due to familiar's own actions. I stared at the notifications, vision still fucked from blood in my eyes, and started laughing. Laughter that comes when you're so far past stress that your brain just gives up and decides everything is hilarious. Holy shit, I wheezed, trying to wipe blood from my face with my chained hands. I did all that, in one night, one fucking night. Infiltrated a superhero base by complete accident. Warned them about Omni-Man. Got into a fight with a Viltrumite. Actually wounded said Viltrumite with a lucky ASS stab to his already cracked ribs. Witnessed 8 heroes get brutally murdered. Somehow changed canon enough that some of them survived. Trapped my mortal enemy in my pocket dimension. And survived all of it. I'm either the luckiest son of a bitch alive, I said to the empty room, or RNGesus is saving me for something way worse. Well, I said, wiping more blood from my eyes and squinting at the blurry tickets. Let's see if I can gamble my way out of this clusterfuck. After all, I'm always all in. 39 comments 0 vote. First interrogation. Just as I was about to start rolling my tickets, really commit to the gambling addiction and see if I could pull something that would help Nakame survive the Viltrumite currently demolishing my pocket dimension, a beep interrupted me. Even through my blurry vision, I could make out the door to my cell sliding open with that pneumatic hiss. A man in blue clothes walked up to me, but I couldn't make out his face through the combination of broken glasses and blood in my eyes. Just a vague human-sized shape, moving with purpose. Panic spiked through me. I was chained up, half-blind, with no idea who this was or what they wanted. Fuck it, when in doubt, gamble. I mentally tore my first bronze ticket, feeling that familiar rush of anticipation as the gacha spun. Charming eyes. Common trait, not to be confused with the mystical eyes of charming. Instead of hypnotizing people, your eyes are just really pretty. Heat flooded my eyes, intense enough that I had to squeeze them shut as tears formed just to cool them down. When I opened them again, everything felt normal. Could be useful, I thought, if only I could actually see my targets. Great, pretty eyes. That would really help me against a Viltrumite or whoever had me chained up in this cell. I tried to move my hands to wipe my eyes, but the chains clinked loudly, stopping me short. The man spoke, his voice rough and authoritative. Don't even try. Those are tungsten alloy cuffs used to contain supers. You're not breaking out of them without help. He stepped closer, his face coming into rough focus as he leaned down to my eye level. And just like that, I knew exactly who this was. Those scars on his face were deep and ugly. The shoulder-length white hair that had probably been blonde before stress and trauma turned it silver. And most importantly, that attitude in his voice, the tone of a man who'd seen everything, done worse, and wouldn't hesitate to do it again. Cecil Stedman, director of the fucking Global Defense Agency. The man who in canon would cut deals with supervillains, clone heroes without their permission, and generally do whatever morally gray bullshit necessary to keep Earth safe. And he was personally interrogating me. Yeah, I thought, I need to get out of here. Right now. I ripped another bronze ticket mentally, desperate for something useful. Musk, uncommon trait, your smell is really good, a bit arousing even. What the fuck am I even gonna use this for? An itch spread across my entire body, blooming from my pores, only to vanish the next second as the trait settled into place. Pretty eyes and sexy smell. I was turning into a dating sim protagonist while chained up in a GDA black site. He pulled up a chair and sat down, the movement casual but his eyes sharp. Look, I finally said, my voice coming out rough. I don't know what you think you saw, but... Kid. Cecil's voice didn't change tone at all, but somehow cut through my bullshit. I've been doing this job for a very long time. I've dealt with aliens, demons, and the worst of them all, politicians. All of them tried to lie to me. All of them failed. He leaned forward slightly. So let's skip the part where you insult my intelligence, and get to the part where you tell me the truth. Because right now, you're the prime suspect in the murders of Earth's premier superhero team. An unknown stranger with no ID, records, or history of even existing was found in a restricted space. Not to mention minimal injuries compared to the rest of the heroes. The way he said it, cold and clinical, made my stomach drop. You see how that looks, right? I stayed silent, my mind racing. How much did he know? How much could I admit? The GDA spent the past day and a half feeding you glucose strips to bring you back from near starvation, Cecil continued, his tone still flat. We patched up your injuries. Cleaned the blood off. Made sure you didn't die from shock or internal bleeding. He paused. We didn't have to do any of that. We could have let you die and saved ourselves a lot of trouble. So I'd appreciate it if you didn't waste our efforts by lying to my face. My eyes went wide with shock as I gulped hard. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm the victim here. One moment I'm just minding my own business. I started, the words tumbling out. Next I'm in the Guardians, HQ getting threatened by people in costumes, and just as I'm trying to figure out what the hell is happening, this flying brick in red and white starts his blitzkrieg, butchering heroes left and right. My voice cracked slightly, part truth and part desperate improvisation. The visceral memory of watching those heroes get torn apart flooding back. Cecil's expression shifted, shock flickered across his scarred face, quickly replaced by grim understanding. So it really was him. Huh, the spymaster, believes me. Thank Lady Luck for the no enemies trait. He muttered to himself, like he'd been hoping for a different answer. While he was processing that, I tore my silver ticket, hoping for something better than pretty eyes and sex pheromones. Soul solid, uncommon item, one piece a cane sword belonging to Brook of the Straw Hat Pirates. This sword is extremely sharp and durable, not having dulled even after years of use. It is also extremely dapper. I felt the cane sword appear in my mental storage space, the same place that had held the modified compound V before I'd chugged it. These are some seriously shitty rolls, I thought bitterly. Did RNGesus curse me or something? Is this payback for surviving when I should have died? Get on with it, kid. Cecil recovered from whatever thoughts he was having. Tell me exactly what happened in that room. And if you ever want to get out of this cell and see the sun again, you'd better tell me the truth. Even though I wasn't particularly worried about being locked up, genuine worry filled my expression. This was new territory for me. I'd been an heir to the strange fortune before the disownment. People used to respect me and bend over backwards to curry favor. Now I was chained up, being interrogated by a scarred spymaster who probably had contingency plans for contingency plans. I dismissed the spiral of thoughts and mentally tore my gold ticket, hoping for something actually useful. Steam emission, rare ability, allows the user to conjure, control and emit blasts of hot steam from their body. My breath turned hot, scorching hot, like I'd just inhaled from a boiling kettle. The sensation settled into my lungs, ready to be unleashed. Not as good as straight-up flame throwing, but I could work with this. Especially if my target was as close to me as Cecil currently was. But I held back. I was in his cell, in his facility, probably surrounded by GDA agents with weapons that could put down supers. And Cecil's skin was already artificial from that terrorist attack, steam damage would be minimal at best. Get on with it, kid, Cecil said, clearly impatient. I don't have all day. So I began narrating my side of the story, with a healthy dose of fabrication mixed in with the truth. Look, I was just a normal kid, going about my business, when suddenly I saw this golden light. Next thing I know, I'm in this weird metal room with gadgets and computers everywhere. I called for help, that's when these people in costumes appeared. Cecil's eye narrowed slightly, watching me. At first, I thought they were cosplayers or something, but then they started using actual powers. Threatening me, demanding to know how I got there. My voice shook a little, remembering the sudden hostility. That's when I realized they were real superheroes, guardians of the globe, they called themselves. I paused, swallowing hard. But before I could even explain myself, before I could say anything, this guy in red and white appeared and just started attacking them indiscriminately. Cecil's expression was unreadable, but I could see his mind working behind those distrusting eyes. The others were yelling, trying to defend themselves, calling out his name. The Omni-Man was killing them. My words came out strained. I saw him split the guy in blue completely in half and turn the fish guy into paste against the wall. Then my glasses got broken and everything was just blurs, but I remember seeing this white and red blur come up to me, grab my throat. My neck unconsciously itched around my bruises. He called me a bug. Asked what I was doing there. And then Then I passed out. Tears started forming in my eyes. The memory of that grip, the absolute hatred in Omniman's eyes amplified by the curse, the certainty that I was about to die. I started sweating, my body reliving the terror. I'm seriously too weak. I need to get stronger. This can't happen again. I tore the platinum ticket to distract myself, to give myself something to focus on besides the memory of almost dying. Glowing 1. Epic trait. You passively absorb radiation with your body like a sponge, using it to fuel your body and energy and consuming it in the process. Absorbing enough radiation, such as gamma radiation, X-rays, and even ultraviolet radiation, will have an effect of permanently increasing your physical stats and energy reserves proportional to how much you absorb. You are also immune to the negative effects of radiation and recover stamina and energy faster when exposed to it. While sunlight would have a negligible effect, eating some radium chips would probably act like cultivation pills for you. Fire erupted through my veins. I bit my tongue hard enough to taste blood, barely holding back a groan as the burning sensation consumed me from the inside out. Then it faded, replaced by awareness. I could feel radiation all around me, from the fluorescent lights above, to the radiator systems in the walls and even from whatever power source was running this facility. No matter how minuscule, my body was absorbing it. This is really good, I thought, the fear fading slightly as excitement took over. All my abilities require massive amounts of energy. I can't just pass out after every attack. This solves that problem. The good roll did wonders for my terror. The addictive rush of getting something actually useful. Aw fuck, I'm gonna get really deep into this addiction, aren't I? 3 comments 0 vote. Kaisen, John Kaisen. Cecil cut into my thoughts. That's a nice sob story, kid. But it still doesn't explain your survival when 2 of my guardians are dead. Irritation flared through me, from the cold tone of his voice. Then don't fucking believe my words. Go check the footage. Those heroes aren't cheap enough to not have at least a couple of decent security cameras. The moment I said it, I knew I'd hit the mark. Cecil's expression didn't change, but I saw the minute tightening around his eyes. The surveillance had been disabled, just like in the show. It was my word against his suspicions, and he knew it. I rolled my second platinum ticket, the anticipation building. Summoner. Elite trait. You are a summoner. Summoning and commanding creatures, familiars, spirits and summons come naturally to you. All familiars get enhanced stats and consume less energy. The potency of all projection-type abilities and spells is increased. It is easier to build affection and loyalty with summons and contracted entities. I almost gasped out loud. This was perfect, a perfect roll. Whether it was increasing Nakim's strength or making my energy blade more potent, this trait was tailor-made for my build. Is my luck finally turning around? I thought, barely containing my excitement. Has Lady Luck finally blessed me? I used to pray for times like this. It's very hard to believe your survival story, Cecil suddenly said, his voice cutting through my excitement, when you're sitting there smiling like you just won the lottery. Huh, was I smiling? I didn't even realize. I'm a person who has gone through intense trauma, I shot back, only for it to be aggravated by you fuckers interrogating me instead of helping. Give me a break. Cecil cleared his throat, surprised by my claim. I quickly changed the topic. You said 2 guardians were dead, right? Then just ask the others what happened instead of torturing a victim, you asshole. Cecil's expression shifted slightly, something almost human flickering across his face. The surviving guardians are alive, but they're barely hanging by a thread. They need intensive care just to stay stable, let alone recover enough to give statements. He paused. Aquarius has confirmed Kia, the immortal. Cecil's voice took on a strange tone. The immortal is complicated. Complicated how? He was decapitated and torn in half. We found his legs and head at the scene, but his upper body is still missing. I kept my face neutral, even as my mind raced. Nakame had taken the upper body. She was using it to feed, to cure her demon hunger. I couldn't tell Cecil that. Not without revealing Nakim's existence, which would open a whole other can of worms. So someone took it? I asked, trying to sound confused instead of guilty. That's the working theory. Cecil's eye narrowed. Any idea who? How the hell would I know? I was unconscious. Cecil watched me for a long moment, that calculating look in his eye making my skin crawl. Is he testing me? You mentioned Omni-Man grabbed you by the throat, Cecil said, his voice taking on a different tone. But you said you passed out. How do you know you didn't see something before you lost consciousness? Maybe saw who took the body. Yup, it's a trap, alright. I don't know what I saw, I said carefully. Everything was blurry. My glasses were broken and without them, I'm as good as blind. All I remember is the red and white blur, the grip, and then nothing. Cecil leaned back slightly, his expression unreadable. Then, to my surprise, he reached and snapped his fingers. The cuffs around my wrists clicked open, releasing my hands. What? You're not a prisoner, kid, Cecil said, his voice still flat. You're a person of interest. There's a difference. I felt air on my sweat-soaked skin finally, my hands free for the first time since waking up. Cecil, on the other hand, flared his nostrils slightly. Weird. Probably smelling the musk trait. Great. My sex pheromones were affecting the scarred spymaster. He stood up, gesturing for me to follow. I followed behind him, my legs shaky from disuse. Can I go home now? Kid, first start by telling me your name. It's John Strange F. I stopped mid-sentence, remembering my father's final words to me. From henceforth, you're disowned from the fake family. Never sully that name with your tongue. The memory stung, even now. Kaisen, I finished. John Kaisen. Image here. Ting. A notification dinged in my vision, but I ignored it. I had one more ticket. The big one. The diamond ticket. Come on, baby. Come on to Papa. The gacha rolled with that familiar rush of anticipation. As the roll came to a stop, it showed. Greater head pat. Rare trait. You were born with hands made for patting the heads of all that is cute. Targets feel much more pleasure from you petting their heads, giving a comforting and comfortable feeling when you do, maybe even arousal if they are kinky. This also helps dispel negative mental effects and build affection. Even the most frigid emo won't be able to fight the power of your palms. I just fell to my knees, legs going weak beneath me. Wallahi, I'm cooked, I muttered. You RNG bastard, I'ma kill you. Of course I got head-patting powers from a diamond ticket. A diamond fucking ticket. I could have gotten a dragon. A demon lord. A fucking servant from fate. But no, I got the ability to comfort lollies. Sir, is he? A concerned voice came from outside the cell. I looked up to see a man in a suit standing in the doorway. Brown hair, clean-cut and a stoic face perfect for being a government agent. That's Donald Ferguson, alright. Cecil's right-hand man in the show. Cecil sighed, hand going to his forehead. Apparently, that's just how the kid processes trauma. I stayed on my knees, staring at nothing, the weight of my terrible luck crushing whatever hope the summoner trait had given me. RNGesus was laughing at me somewhere. I could feel it. And I was stuck with pretty eyes, sex pheromones, a cane sword, steam powers, radiation absorption, being really good at summoning, and the ability to be the world's best creep. What a fucking power set. Kid, Cecil said, his voice almost sympathetic. You gonna get up, or do I need to call medical? I slowly stood, my legs still shaky, and looked at Cecil through my blurry, admittedly now very pretty eyes. Where are we going? I asked, my voice hollow. We're still in the Himalayas, kid. Unfortunately, we can't run the battery of tests we want as we need to take you out of here before you contaminate the crime scene. We need to figure out exactly what you are and where you came from. This was fine. Everything was fine. Who am I kidding? I was so fucked. 30 comments 0 vote. One more pull won't kill me, right? The GDA jet's engines hummed beneath me, a constant reminder that I was 30,000 feet up with nowhere to run. The GDA jet was surprisingly nice. Not private jet with champagne nice, I was used to, but government budget actually spent on comfort nice. I was sitting near the back, surrounded by a team of GDA agents in full tactical gear, their rifles resting on their laps like they expected me to spontaneously combust or some shit. Donald Ferguson sat across from me with a tablet, occasionally glancing up to make sure I wasn't doing anything suspicious. The silence was oppressive as hell. Nobody was talking. The agents were just staring straight ahead like good little soldiers. Donald was focused on his tablet. And I was sitting here with my blurry vision, unable to even see their faces clearly, let alone make conversation. I shifted in my seat, trying to get comfortable. 3 rifles twitched in my direction. Fucking hell. Still not used to this level of silence, I decided to break the ice. Hey, Donald, right. I gestured vaguely toward the armed agents. What's with the band? Seems like overkill for one teenager who can barely see. Donald looked up from his tablet, his expression perfectly stoic. They're here to ensure your safety as much as mine. You're still an unknown and unpredictable variable, Mr. Kaisen. Until we understand where you came from, precautions are necessary. Right, I said, because I'm such a threat. Can't even see past 3 feet without squinting. Mr. Kaisen. Donald reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a case. He leaned forward, offering it to me. Kaisen, I muttered. Yeah, still getting used to that. Confused, I still took and opened it. Glasses. Brand new, sleek-looking glasses with thin frames that looked way more expensive than anything I'd expect from a government official. Excitement surged through me. I practically yanked them out of the case and shoved them onto my face, not even caring if I looked desperate. Yet, the world was still blurry. What the fuck? I started to complain, reaching up to adjust them. These don't even. Then my vision started clearing. Slowly at first, like someone was gradually turning up the resolution on a TV. Then faster, sharper, until suddenly I could see everything. I could see the stitching on Donald's suit. The scratches on the rifle barrels. The straps on the tactical gear. The mountains outside the window and snow-capped peaks stretching into the distance. I could see, actually see, clearly, after a long time. Finally, I breathed, turning my head to take in every detail. I can see clearly. Donald smiled with just a small upturn of his lips. Those are our standard-issue smart glasses. They automatically adjust their prescription according to the wearer's needs. Took a moment to calibrate to your vision. I was too busy staring at everything to respond immediately. This was amazing. You can keep them, Mr. Kaisen, Donald said, his smile widening slightly. Think of them as compensation for the director's interrogation. I just nodded, still overwhelmed by the clear vision. Then I remembered something. Hey, where's Cecil? Thought he'd want to personally escort the unknown variable, or whatever. Donald's expression shifted. He scratched his cheek, adjusting his own glasses in a way that seemed almost embarrassed. Director Stedman teleported directly to Washington. He's arranging the testing facilities and coordinating with the medical team. I was about to ask the obvious question when Donald continued. And before you ask, no, he can't teleport with passengers. Each teleportation costs approximately $5 million. The GDA's budget is constrained. Flying commercial is significantly cheaper when transporting multiple people. His cheeks went slightly pink as he said it, like he was embarrassed by the budget limitations. $5 million per teleport, not bad, actually. If the technology were there in my previous world, my siblings would use it just for the fun of it. Blushing aside, I thought, squinting at Donald's face, why can't I see your eyes past those glasses, motherfucker? I stretched my neck at various angles, trying to get a better look, but the glasses had some kind of privacy tint. All I could see was my own reflection in the lenses. The agents were starting to look uncomfortable with my weird neck craning, so I stopped. This was going to take some time anyway. Might as well check my notifications. I pulled up the gacha interface in my vision, the familiar glow appearing as notifications scrolled past. Feat achieved. New world, new name. Reward. +1 bronze trait gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Prime suspect of mass murder. Reward. +1 bronze trait gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Cleared of charges temporarily. Reward. +1 silver ability gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Fooled the spymaster. Reward. +1 gold skill gacha ticket. Feat achieved. The worst diamond roll in history. Reward. +1 silver random gacha ticket. Feat achieved. Made Cecil think you're mentally unstable. Reward. +1 silver random gacha ticket. I whistled low under my breath, earning a glance from Donald. Damn, I thought, the quality is pretty low, but the quantity is nothing to scoff at. 6 tickets, 2 bronze, 3 silver, 1 gold. Not the best haul, but after that disaster diamond pull, I'd take what I could get. I rubbed my hands together and cracked my knuckles, which made several agents tense up. Relax, I said quickly. I felt crammed in this tin box, so I just stretched. They didn't relax. Whatever. The itch was back, that familiar craving that came with every new ticket. The rush of possibility, of chance, of gambling everything on a single pull. My hands were shaking slightly. Addiction, pure and simple. But I didn't care. I mentally tore both bronze tickets at once, feeling that familiar rush as the gacha spun. Tank, common item, a large indistinct military tank with infinite fuel and tank shells inside of it. Fuel and shells cannot be taken out of the vehicle. A whole-ass tank materialized in my mental storage, sitting there like the world's most ridiculous lawn ornament. The tank is obviously useful, I thought, especially with the infinite ammo and fuel. But in a world where people punch through mountains, this thing is basically a very expensive paperweight. Still, infinite ammunition had to be worth something. Maybe I could sell it to Cecil for spare cash. The second bronze ticket finished spinning. Flash. Common ability. You can emit a bright blinding light from your hands or use it with less intensity for utility, does not work well outside of close range. My hands suddenly warmed up, tingling like I'd touched something electric. They turned unnaturally red for a second, glowing faintly, before the light faded and they returned to normal. I flexed my fingers experimentally. Nothing visible, but I could feel the ability there, ready to be activated. Flashbang hands. Could be worse. At least it'll increase my ability count, I thought. Now I just need one more to get another ability slot. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the anticipation building in my chest. You can do better than this, I told myself. Lady Luck is on your side. RNGesus wouldn't fuck you over twice in a row. Right. I tore the first silver ticket. Buffout. Common item. Fallout Buffout is a pre-war chem created as a very potent and temporary physical effort enhancer and steroid, capable of allowing the string bean Joe punch through wood and take a baseball bat to the face thanks to the increased endurance, strength, and reflexes it provides. Restock timer. 76 hours. A small pill bottle appeared in my mental storage, labeled with faded pre-war Vault-Tec branding. Steroids from Fallout, I thought, could be useful in a clutch situation, or I could sell it to Cecil and let the GDA reverse engineer the compound. Bet they'd pay good money for super soldier drugs. 30 comments 0 vote, all hail RNGesus. I tore the second silver ticket. 14 temperance, common item. Tarot card allows you to attain complete mental clarity and focus, dispelling all negative mental conditions. 48-hour cooldown. A tarot card materialized, glowing faintly with some strange mystical energy. A tarot card, I frowned. That means there are 21 others somewhere in the gacha pool. This one's kind of useless for me though. My chaos response trait already gives me immunity to mental manipulation, and the cooldown is way too long. But it was an item, which meant I could give it to someone else to use. I tore the third and final silver ticket. Please be good, please be good. Gradual transformation, rare ability. You can gradually transform your body into any shape, but due to the transformation being slow, it must be used carefully. It would take roughly 3 hours to slowly turn into a cat, and you cannot increase or decrease your mass by more than 500%. Heat spread through my body uncomfortably, like my cells were rearranging themselves. Then it settled into background awareness. Shapeshifting. Slow as hell, but shapeshifting. And then another notification appeared. 10 abilities collected. Third ability slot added. Hell yeah, I fist-pumped the air in sheer excitement. Everyone in the jet turned to stare at me. The agents raised their weapons halfway, fingers on triggers. Donald looked concerned. Mr. Kaisen, are you alright? Ah, sorry, everyone. I said quickly, lowering my hand in embarrassment. I'm just excited to see the Himalayas for the first time. They're beautiful from up here. I gestured toward the window. The agents slowly lowered their weapons but kept watching me like I might explode. I really need to get my act together, I thought, face heating with embarrassment. Stop celebrating gacha pulls out loud. You lunatic. I calmed myself, forcing my breathing to even out. 1 ticket left. The gold gacha ticket. I'd already rolled gold tickets before. Even higher tiers like platinum and diamond. But that last diamond roll had really put me in the dumps. This was it, my chance to get something actually useful to deal with all this bullshit around me. To maximize my chances, I pressed my palms together in prayer, closing my eyes. Our Lord and Savior, RNGesus, I thought reverently. I was a fool to have cursed you out. I spoke in anger and desperation. As repentance, I'll spin this roll in your honor. Please bless this lowly gambler with your divine grace. I mentally tore the golden ticket, feeling it dissolve in my mind as the gacha wheel started spinning. Tick 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 tick. The sound echoed in my head, each tick stretching out for what felt like hours. The wheel slowed, slower, slower, and finally stopped on. Gambler. Elite trait. Let's go gambling. Aw dang it. Every time you would roll the ticket, you roll a d20 first, depending on the roll you get, 20 equals ticket rank up, 1917 equals advantage, 1613 equals change ticket type, 128 equals nothing happens, 72 equals ticket rank down, 1 equals ticket is destroyed. This trait can be rerolled or toggled. My mind short-circuited. I stared at the description, reading it once, twice, 3 times. This is, I couldn't even finish the thought. Tears started forming in my eyes, running down my cheeks. The sheer possibilities, the stakes, the rush, every single gacha pull would now be a gamble on top of a gamble. A metagamble, gambling on whether my gambling would be good or bad. It was beautiful, it was perfect, it was exactly what a degenerate gambler like me deserved. I thought you were just a slimy bastard, I thought, my mental voice choked with emotion. I thought you were adamant on ruining my rolls and making my life as miserable as possible. I fell to my knees right there in the jet, pressing my forehead to the floor in a full kowtow. I'm sorry, I sobbed out loud. I'm so sorry I doubted you. I promise, I'll be the best gambler. The absolute best. You beautiful, beautiful ROB. Around me, I heard the distinctive click-clack of multiple weapons being armed. Hostile movement. Target is on the ground. Is he performing witchcraft? Don't shoot. Donald's voice cut through the chaos. Stand down. All of you, stand down. I ignored them, continuing my prayer to RNGesus. All hail the god of chance. All hail the lord of probability. I am your faithful servant. I will roll with honor and gamble with pride. Mr. Kaisen. Donald was crouched beside me, hand on my shoulder. Are you all right? Are you in pain? He's clearly up to no good. One of the agents said. Should we sedate him? No, Donald snapped. Nobody touches him without my authorization. I finally looked up, tears still streaming down my face, my vision blurry again from crying. The entire jet was staring at me. I'm fine, I said, my voice hoarse. I'm completely fine. Better than fine, actually. I just realized how beautiful life is. Donald helped me back into my seat, his expression shifting from concern to something like pity. He's clearly traumatized, Donald said to the agents, his voice low but not quiet enough that I couldn't hear. Acute stress response, probably PTSD from witnessing the massacre. He's lost some mental stability, so we need to handle him carefully. The agents lowered their weapons slowly, but now they were looking at me with pity instead of suspicion. They thought I was insane. And honestly, maybe I was. Maybe getting a trait that turned every gacha pull into Russian roulette with extra steps was a sign of mental illness. But I didn't care. I had the gambler trait. Every pull would be an adventure and a risk. A real gamble where I could lose everything or gain more than I dreamed. All hail RNGesus, I whispered, wiping tears from my eyes with my new smart glasses. Image here. Donald sat back down across from me, watching me carefully like I might have another episode. Mr. Kaisen, he said gently. We'll be landing in Washington in approximately an hour. When we arrive, you'll be taken to a secure medical facility for evaluation. Standard procedure for unknown individuals with potential superhuman capabilities. Sure, I said, still grinning like an idiot. Whatever you need. We'll run some tests. Blood work, brain scans, physical examination. Nothing invasive without your consent. The director wants to understand what happened to you and how you survived. Uzu, are you listening to me, Mr. Kaisen? Absolutely, I lied. I wasn't listening at all. I was too busy thinking about the gambler trait and all the possibilities it opened up. I pulled up my mental interface again, looking at the gambler trait sitting there, glowing with potential. Toggle on or off. I could turn it off. Play it safe and roll tickets normally without risking destruction. Or I could embrace the chaos. Live up to my namesake. My finger hovered over the toggle. Then I grinned. All in, I whispered. The trait stayed active. Donald looked up from his tablet. What was that? Nothing, I said, talking to myself. Nakame, I thought, reaching out. Hang in there. I'll figure something out. I was ready to gamble everything. One more time. Gambler trait was the only intentionally picked trait for obvious reasons. Support my work and get early access to 20+ chapters, exclusive content, and bonus material at my P at Trian Max Striker. To be continued.